The girl was walking down the street with her beloved pet when a group of boys suddenly blocked her way. They thought she was a freak because no one would ever keep a scorpion as a pet. In the next moment, the girl was pinned hard against the wall, forced to watch as her treasured pet was crushed into dust right before her eyes. Heartbroken, she buried the scorpion and silently vowed never to let anyone bully her again. Years later, Wednesday Addams had just arrived at her new school when she discovered her brother locked inside a locker. As she untied him, a vivid vision flashed through her mind of how he had been bullied. The bullies, however, had no idea they had just crossed someone they should never mess with. Soon, Wednesday confronted them alone.
This is a close practice.
The only person who gets to torture my brother is me.
Without another word, she calmly lifted 2 bags of piranhas and tossed them straight into the pool. The boys instantly panicked, thrashing toward the edge in a desperate bid to escape. But the ringleader was just a step too slow, and the piranhas bit off his private parts. Wednesday was none other than the eldest daughter of the famous Addams family. Because of the piranha incident, Wednesday was expelled from yet another school. Her parents had no choice but to send her to their own alma mater, the renowned Nevermore Academy. Principal Weems glanced at Wednesday's record, 8 schools in 5 years. Without a doubt, she was a troublemaker among troublemakers. But given Wednesday's excellent grades and the fact that she and Wednesday's mother Morticia had once been roommates, Weems decided to make an exception and admit her. Wednesday was assigned to Morticia's old dorm room, where her new roommate Enid greeted her warmly with a cheerful, "Howdy, roomie." Wednesday didn't say a word. Her father Gomez stepped in to smooth things over, saying Wednesday always looked half dead. Enid didn't take it to heart.
Welcome to Ophelia Hall.
Please excuse Wednesday. She's
Not a hugger. Got it.
allergic to color.
Oh. What happens to you?
I break out into hives and then the flesh peels off my bone.
Hearing this, Enid looked genuinely shocked. Weems thoughtfully mentioned that the school had tailored a black and white uniform just for Wednesday. Following Weems's instructions, Enid happily bounced along, giving Wednesday a tour of the school. Nevermore Academy was a place that welcomed all kinds of outcasts. The school was roughly divided into 4 groups. Those wearing sunglasses and sipping red drinks were the vampire clique, some of whom had lived here for decades. Those with curly hair who occasionally howled were the werewolves, who transformed during the full moon. The group led by Bianca are sirens. Their songs can enchant minds. The boy with small snakes on his head is a descendant of the Gorgon Medusa. He can turn people to stone by looking at them, sometimes even accidentally petrifying himself if he glances at a mirror. Before leaving, Morticia gave Wednesday 2 things. One was an obsidian necklace to summon visions. The other was a crystal ball so they could talk to each other. As the car drove away, Morticia couldn't hold back her tears. Gomez comforted her, saying, "Don't worry, my dear. I've got a backup plan." He then flipped a switch, and a severed hand dropped silently from the car's undercarriage. The hand turned and began crawling stealthily back towards the academy. Back in her dorm, Wednesday immediately scraped off all the colorful decorations from her window, effectively dividing the room in 2. Enid was furious. It turned out Wednesday devoted an hour every day to writing detective novels. While writing, she couldn't resist mocking Enid's blog for being disorganized. Enid, now completely provoked, blasted loud music and danced wildly as a form of retaliation. Wednesday tried to turn it off, but Enid bared her sharp wolf claws. Just as tensions were about to boil over, dorm supervisor Thornhill walked in. To welcome Wednesday, Thornhill had specially chosen a pot of black dahlias for her. Taking advantage of the calmer moment, Thornhill reminded them, no claws in the dorm and no smothering people in their sleep. With their schemes exposed, Wednesday and Enid reluctantly called a truce. The next day, right after class, a gargoyle suddenly fell from the roof. At the last moment, someone shoved Wednesday out of the way. When she came to, she learned that it was Xavier in front of her who had saved her, but she didn't thank him.
I didn't want to be rescued.
So I should have just let that thing smash you to mush?
I would have rather saved myself.
It's good to see you haven't changed.
It turned out Xavier had known Wednesday for years. When he was 10, he hid inside his grandmother's coffin during a game of hide and seek, only to be trapped when it was about to be sent to the crematorium. Wednesday noticed something was wrong and saved him. Now they were even. Back in the dorm, Wednesday resumed her daily writing routine, but she suddenly sensed something strange on her bed. Lifting the blanket, she found her parents' surprise. Thing, the severed hand. Realizing he'd been caught, Thing tried to escape under the covers but was quickly grabbed by Wednesday. She gave him 2 options: spend the semester locked in a drawer or switch allegiance to her. Faced with Wednesday's cold, serious expression, Thing wisely chose to side with her. His first assignment was to help her escape from the academy. Because of the previous incident, the court required Wednesday to attend weekly therapy sessions. Afraid she might use the opportunity to run away, Weems personally escorted her to the appointment. But once the thought of escape takes root, no precaution can hold it back. Wednesday spoke briefly with her therapist, Dr. Kinbot, then excused herself to the restroom. She quickly removed the window and climbed down the drain pipe. She then went to a coffee shop, ordered 4 shots of espresso, and casually asked how to get to the train station. The barista told her the coffee machine was broken. Wednesday fixed the coffee machine in just a few quick moves. In return, the barista, Tyler, agreed to drive her to the train station after his shift. While waiting for Tyler to finish work, several pilgrims approached and harassed Wednesday. To them, students from Nevermore Academy were all freaks. Wednesday didn't waste words and confronted them directly. The pilgrims had planned to teach Wednesday a lesson, but to their shock, she single-handedly took on all 3 of them and won. At that moment, Tyler's father returned, and upon learning that this young girl had actually taken down 3 boys, he was stunned. Soon after, Weems arrived. When she heard Weems address Wednesday, Sheriff Galpin's expression instantly darkened. To him, Wednesday's father was a murderer
I'm gonna keep my eye on you.
Okay.
who had evaded justice. On the way back to school, Wednesday asked Weems about her father's alleged crime, but Weems avoided the question. Suddenly, Weems spotted a car accident ahead, and Wednesday calmly remarked that the driver was dead, his neck broken. Weems asked in puzzlement how she knew. Wednesday said nothing, but when they passed the accident scene, everything Wednesday had said was proven true. It turned out that when Wednesday escaped from the therapy session, she had bumped into this driver, and in that moment, she had seen a vision of his fatal accident in her mind. These frequent visions lately had been troubling Wednesday deeply. That night, she sat on the balcony playing her cello nonstop, yet her restless feelings did not ease at all. Her roommate Enid came out, and Thing greeted her warmly. After that, they used Thing as a starting point and began their conversation. Wednesday curiously asked why, on a full moon night, Enid, as a werewolf, hadn't transformed. Enid admitted sadly that she still hadn't learned how.
I'd become a lone wolf?
Sounds perfect.
Are you kidding me? My life would be officially over. I'd be kicked out of my family pack with no prospect of finding a mate.
I'm failing to see the problem here.
I could die alone.
We all die alone, Enid.
Cheering people up.
As they talked, the tension between them eased. Wednesday seized the moment to ask if she could borrow Enid's computer to contact Tyler. Meanwhile, Thing found Tyler, startling him badly. Tyler grabbed a bat, trying to scare Thing away, but Thing easily overpowered him. Thing nudged a phone towards Tyler, pointing insistently at a number written on its palm. After getting in touch with Wednesday, she told Tyler that the upcoming Harvest Festival that weekend was the perfect chance to escape the academy, and she wanted him to drive her to the train station. Tyler agreed without hesitation. On the night of the Harvest Festival, Tyler arrived as promised.
Good luck and safe travels.
When they met, he handed Wednesday a file folder containing her father's police records. Wednesday, grateful yet a little at a loss, felt unsure how to respond. After all, she had never had a friend before. As they hurried off, Wednesday accidentally bumped into a male student named Rowan. Immediately, another strange vision struck her. In it, she saw a purple book, the academy engulfed in flames, and Rowan's tragic death. Abandoning her escape, Wednesday turned to chase Rowan to warn him of the danger, but Rowan gave a strange smile.
I think you've got it backwards.
Before she could react, he used telekinesis to pin her against a tree. Rowan then threw out a drawing. It was made by his mother 25 years ago. His mother had been a powerful seer, and before her death, she told him that if the girl in the drawing ever came to Nevermore Academy, he must kill her, because she would destroy the entire school and everyone in it. To Rowan, Wednesday was the girl in the drawing. He also admitted that the falling gargoyle incident had been his doing. Just as Rowan was about to kill Wednesday with his powers, a monster suddenly appeared, attacked, and killed him. The monster glanced at Wednesday before quickly leaving. Rowan's death matched exactly what she had just seen in her vision. Wednesday immediately called the police, but after searching all night, they found no trace of Rowan's body. Even stranger, the next day, Rowan appeared at school completely unharmed. Now everyone believed Wednesday was lying for attention, including her therapist. Wednesday was deeply frustrated. Was she losing her mind, or was something else going on? When she looked again at the drawing Rowan had left, a mysterious symbol in the top right corner caught her eye. She turned to Weems for help, but Weems insisted that Rowan's death was merely her illusion. She said Wednesday's mother had experienced the same thing when she was young, and that visions were unreliable and dangerous. Now that Rowan had withdrawn from school, the matter was closed. Wednesday was even more suspicious. Rowan had been fine just days ago, so why would he suddenly leave right after the incident? She stopped Rowan as he was about to leave, trying to get the truth, but he rudely refused to talk. Left with no other choice, Wednesday instructed Thing to hide on the back of Rowan's car and follow him to the train station. But on the way, Thing got stuck to a piece of chewing gum, slowing him down. In his view, Rowan entered a nearby restroom. However, when Rowan emerged from the restroom, he had transformed into a middle-aged man. Thing, arriving late, naturally failed to recognize him. While Thing searched the restroom for Rowan, the middle-aged man transformed into Weems.
You lose him in a bathroom with no windows. A lefty wouldn't have failed me. Don't sulk.
With the Rowan lead gone cold, Wednesday decided to revisit the crime scene to look for clues she might have missed. But with Weems keeping a close eye on her lately, Wednesday had to ask Enid to cover for her during the beekeeping club so she could slip away. Yet the usually agreeable Enid refused, saying she sensed a rift between Wednesday and Thing. With no other option, Wednesday returned to the dorm to apologize to Thing. Wednesday enters her room to find Thing flicking through a magazine. But Wednesday's stiff apology wasn't enough to earn his forgiveness. After venting his anger, Thing motioned for Wednesday to sit beside him. It turned out the real reason Thing was upset was because he had realized Wednesday was hiding something from him while ordering him around, which deeply hurt him since he considered her family. Understanding Thing's feelings, Wednesday reluctantly pulled out the painting Rowan had left. She explained to Thing that Rowan's prophecy about her destroying the whole school filled her with deep terror, so she had to uncover the truth. Thing gently patted Wednesday's hand in comfort. Enid also kept her promise, braving her fear of bees to stand in as Wednesday's double. Back at the crime scene, Wednesday discovered Rowan's glasses hidden in the bushes. The moment she touched them, another vision struck. She saw Rowan using his psychic power to drop the gargoyle on her, and she saw Rowan having a fierce argument and physical fight with his roommate, Xavier. Once again, the clues pointed to that purple-covered book marked with the mysterious symbol, but after scouring the entire library, Wednesday still couldn't find it. Just then, Thornhill happened to walk in. From her, Wednesday learned that the symbol belonged to a group called the Nightshade Society, though it had mysteriously disbanded years ago. Wednesday then snuck into Rowan's dorm room but still didn't find the book. However, she accidentally discovered that Rowan's roommate, Xavier, had secretly drawn sketches of her. Right then, Xavier suddenly returned, forcing Wednesday to hide under the bed. Moments later, Bianca also arrived at the dorm. It turned out they used to date, but after their breakup, Xavier had developed feelings for the newly arrived Wednesday. To get back at Wednesday, Bianca had even decided to target her roommate, Enid.
I can't wait to crush Ophelia Hall tomorrow and watch her werewolf roommate crumble. It's gonna be a poke-up finale to remember.
When Wednesday returned to her dorm, she found Enid on the verge of breaking down. It turned out that her teammate Yoko had gotten food poisoning during dinner and couldn't compete in the poke-up race. With the race imminent and no teammate, Enid was utterly distraught. Wednesday calmly tried to reassure her.
You and I are going to take her down tomorrow.
After listening to Enid's account of past races, Wednesday quickly formed a plan. The next day, Wednesday showed up in her kitten battlesuit, much to Enid's delight. Once the contestants were in place, Weems announced the rules. Each team must row to Raven Island, retrieve a flag from the Crackstone Crypt, and return swiftly. The first team to cross the finish line with the flag would win the trophy. But along the way, teams were free to sabotage each other, and if a boat was sunk mid-race, that team would be eliminated. At Weems's starting gun, all the teams paddled forward with all their might. The purple team struck first, tossing an axe at Wednesday's boat just as her team was about to pass them. Fortunately, they dodged easily. Then Bianca gave a subtle nod. A teammate on shore stripped down and dove into the water. Using his siren swimming skills, he quickly caught up to the purple team and shoved their boat straight into an obstacle. In no time, the fastest boat in the race was eliminated. The siren team cheered with delight. Their next target was Wednesday's team. But Wednesday was already on guard. Spotting something unusual in the water ahead, she quickly raised her telescope. Sure enough, a siren was swimming below. She told Thing to be ready. When the siren swam beneath their boat, Thing flipped a switch. A large net shot out, instantly trapping the siren. Once they reached the shore, Wednesday told Enid to guard the boat while she retrieved the flag. As the two clowns stepped away, Enid extended her claws. Just as Wednesday grabbed the flag, another strange vision hit her. In it, a blonde girl who looked exactly like her appeared before her. Wednesday was baffled. Bianca's taunts pulled her back to reality, and she quickly sprinted back toward the boat. On the return trip, the clown team in the lead suddenly discovered that their boat was leaking. Just like that, they were eliminated. Soon it came down to a final showdown with the Siren team. Wednesday flipped the switch, and several arrows fired from the side of the boat. Just as they were about to catch up to Bianca's team, the trapped Siren broke free. Seeing their boat about to be pushed into an obstacle, Things sprang into action, landing a solid blow that knocked the Siren unconscious. Wednesday and her team rowed furiously, quickly catching up to Bianca's boat, and then... Unquestionably, Wednesday's team won the final victory. Weems warmly presented the trophy to their team. Enid jumped and cheered in excitement. Unable to stand the celebratory atmosphere, Wednesday slipped away from the crowd. Unexpectedly, she stumbled upon the Nightshade Society's emblem. Late at night, when everything was quiet, Wednesday returned to investigate once more. Using the words carved into the statue's book, Wednesday quickly cracked the code. This secret room was the very same one where Rowan had taken the book in her vision. On the wall, she saw a photo of her parents when they were young. At the bookshelf, she noticed signs that a particular spot had been disturbed. Pulling the book free, she saw it was exactly the one Rowan had taken in her dream. Wednesday slipped the book into her bag and was about to leave.
It's the truth. Luckily,
But the moment her hood was yanked back, her hands were already bound tight. She expected dangerous killers, but to her disappointment, it was just a group of immature classmates. From Bianca, she learned they belonged to an elite social club called the Nightshade Society. But as far as Wednesday knew, the Nightshade Society had been disbanded long ago. Xavier explained that after a normie student died 30 years ago, the Nightshade Society was forced to disband. In recent years, however, some wealthy students had secretly revived it. As long as they didn't cause trouble, Weems turned a blind eye. Xavier wanted to invite Wednesday to join, saying she was a natural successor, but Bianca strongly opposed it.
Just because I beat you at your own game? Let me save you the trouble. I'm not interested in joining.
You're seriously turning us down?
can you believe it?
Untie her.
I freed myself 5 minutes ago.
Amid their surprised stares, Wednesday walked out without a second glance. Before leaving, she couldn't resist throwing in a sarcastic remark. Wednesday pieced Rowan's torn drawing back into the book. She realized the image showed not only herself but also a pilgrim, and it looked like they were in a duel. The next day was the school's annual outreach day. On this day, students perform free community service in town to foster integration between outcasts and normies. Wednesday showed the drawing of her duel with the pilgrim to Xavier. From him, she learned that the pilgrim was Crackstone, the town's founder, and that there were introductions about him all over town. To investigate Crackstone, Wednesday deliberately swapped volunteer assignments with Enid.
Pilgrim World! Witch trials! Every day! 2 o'clock! 4 o'clock! Amen!
The old man's introduction left Wednesday feeling disgusted, as she herself came from a family of witches. She was assigned to work as a taster at the Fudge House. Wanting to finish her task quickly so she could investigate Crackstone, Wednesday switched into her signature dark and bizarre mode. By the time she finished speaking, not a single bystander was willing to try the fudge, and they all walked away. And just like that, her volunteer duty was over. As soon as she stepped out of the Fudge House, Wednesday saw a group of pilgrims bullying her classmate Eugene. Wednesday strode up and stopped them cold. The pilgrims tried to teach her a lesson, but she kicked one to the ground and shoved him onto the guillotine, humiliating him in the same way he had humiliated Eugene. She then gently helped Eugene clean himself up. From that moment on, Eugene willingly became Wednesday's follower. She told Eugene to keep watch at the door while she secretly slipped into the pilgrim meeting house, which was temporarily closed to the public. On a mural inside, she saw the blonde girl from her vision, holding the same black book she had seen in the dream. In a display case below was that very book. But when she opened it, the pages were blank. The curator caught her and explained that the original book had been stolen during last month's witch trial reenactment, and that this was only a replica. She also revealed that this was not the original pilgrim meeting house. Wednesday went to Tyler, who had grown up in the town, for the address. When Wednesday arrived at the old meeting house site and saw the place in such disrepair, she had little hope, but just as she pushed the door to leave, another vision struck. In the vision, a crowd was collectively condemning a girl. That girl was the blonde from Wednesday's dream. Her name was Wednesday Addams, Wednesday's ancestor from 400 years ago. To Crackstone, all outcasts were evil and deserved to die. But Goody protested, saying she was innocent. Her family had come here before Crackstone, living peacefully with the locals. After Crackstone arrived, he seized their land and massacred many innocents.
You are the true monster, all of you!
Crackstone struck back viciously, throwing Goody into a warehouse. Then he locked the door and lit a torch outside. Goody found her mother in the crowd and tried to save her, but her mother said everyone inside was chained to the floor and couldn't escape. Her mother begged Goody to flee, find the rest of their people, and save the family's future. Under her mother's desperate gaze, Goody fled alone, while the rest of her people perished in the flames. A cloud of thick smoke filled the vision.
He won't stop until he's killed us all! He's here.
There will be no escape for you.
When Wednesday woke from the dream, heavy rain was pouring in the real world. Through the crack in the door, she saw the monster that had attacked Rowan appear again. This time, it still didn't harm Wednesday and simply gave her a glance before leaving. Wednesday quickly gave chase and was shocked to see the creature's footprints gradually turn into human ones. Back in town, Wednesday once again spotted Crackstone's statue, and she found it an eyesore. Soon after, the unveiling ceremony for the new town monument officially began. While everyone else was lost in celebration, Thing quietly lit a match and flicked it toward a nearby fuse. As the fuse burned rapidly, the statue suddenly exploded. The crowd scattered in panic. At that moment, Weems noticed that in the vast square, Wednesday was the only one sitting there, playing her cello with unusual enthusiasm. In the end, the statue slowly melted in the raging flames. Weems was furious. Although there was no proof, she was certain Wednesday had something to do with it. But Wednesday swore with absolute confidence that she hadn't done it. With no evidence, Weems had no choice but to let her go. Afterward, Weems angrily tore a magazine article about Morticia's youth into pieces and tossed it into the fire. Back in the dorm, Enid grumbled angrily to Wednesday. Wednesday rolled her eyes, unwilling to respond. Meanwhile, at the old meeting house Wednesday had visited earlier, a homeless man was suddenly attacked by the monster. When the police examined the scene, they found a camera. From the developed photos, the sheriff saw a blurry image of the monster. After hearing that the monster had attacked another person the previous night, Wednesday, with Thing's help, snuck into the morgue. While examining the homeless man's body, she discovered something strange. His left foot was missing. Just then, Thing sensed someone approaching, and Wednesday quickly put the body back and hid. The newcomers were Sheriff Galpin and the coroner. It turned out the victim's left foot had been removed by the coroner because he had discovered 2 missing toes, and from the wound, it seemed the tool used was a surgical saw. This was strange. Why would the monster saw off the victim's toes? Sheriff Galpin ordered the autopsy report to be delivered to his office as soon as it was ready, and insisted the media must never learn about the missing toes. After the sheriff left, the coroner noticed that one of the morgue drawers was not closed, so he pulled it open to check.
I don't remember this one coming in. Full rigor. You've been dead a while. Guess you won't mind waiting another day for me to cut you open.
Once the coroner departed, Thing rushed to free Wednesday. But inside the drawer, Wednesday seemed oddly comfortable. She then posted the investigation results on the dorm bulletin board and excitedly shared her findings with Enid. She had discovered that every victim attacked by the monster had body parts surgically removed. Some had kidneys taken, others had fingers or toes. This meant the monster wasn't attacking mindlessly, but was deliberately collecting human organs. Completely absorbed in the case, Wednesday failed to notice the fear in Enid's eyes, until a sudden thud sounded behind her. During the next botany class, Thornhill announced that the school would hold a dance on Saturday. Xavier tried to invite Wednesday, but her reaction was,
I'd rather stick needles in my eyes.
Then she noticed something. There were scratch marks on Xavier's neck, eerily similar to those left by the monster. She secretly followed him and saw him coming out of a small cabin with a suspicious air. Slipping inside after he left, she was stunned. The walls were covered with lifelike, eerie drawings of the monster. Could Xavier be the creature? Wednesday took 2 of the drawings and left. But as soon as she stepped outside, she ran right into Xavier, who had unexpectedly returned. He asked suspiciously what she was doing there. Wednesday stumbled over her words, claiming she had come to invite him to the dance. Xavier, who already liked Wednesday, naturally accepted immediately.
Oh my god! Wednesday Addams is going to the Raven! My whole world is tilted!
Later, Enid enthusiastically dragged Wednesday to pick out a dress. But looking at the colorful shop, Wednesday couldn't help but scoff.
What kind of dystopian hellscape is this?
Following Thing's subtle cue, she turned her head and saw the dress she truly wanted. Just then, Kinbutt walked out of the shop.
Are you going to the Raven this weekend? That dress will certainly turn some heads.
I'm not required to answer your questions out in the wild, am I?
Wednesday disliked the feeling of being read so easily, and after a few curt words, she left. She then took Xavier's monster drawings to Sheriff Galpin. When he compared them with the earlier photo of the monster, he found the resemblance striking, and he wanted to know more details. But Wednesday told him she wouldn't reveal anything unless they exchanged information. He refused and told her to go back to school. However, a call from the mayor pressing for updates made him change his mind, and he told Wednesday that if she came up with something concrete, he would consider working with her. Leaving the sheriff's office, she happened to run into Tyler. When he learned that Wednesday was going to the dance with Xavier, Tyler looked deeply hurt. Wednesday had to explain that she had too many things to deal with right now and wasn't in the mood for romance. Watching Tyler walk away in disappointment, Thing tried to comfort Wednesday, but she shut him down before he could start. To avoid scaring Enid, Wednesday moved the autopsy board to Eugene's beekeeping quarters. When Eugene noticed the monster's cave sketched in the corner, he was surprised and said he thought he had seen it before. They soon located the cave from the drawing. Inside, they found the ground littered with bones, clearly the monster's lair. Strangely, there was also a shackle fixed to the wall. Not far away, Wednesday spotted a broken monster claw wedged in a crack in the wall. This was a critical breakthrough. Wednesday went to Xavier's studio again, searching for anything that might contain DNA. In the trash bin, she found a piece of cloth stained with blood. If she could compare the DNA from this cloth with that of the monster, she could determine if Xavier was the creature. Just then, Xavier walked in. This time, Wednesday didn't bother pretending. She bluntly asked him how he knew what the monster looked like. Xavier explained that the monster had been appearing in his dreams for weeks, so he painted it. But while working on his latest piece, the monster had reached out from the canvas and scratched him. It was a reasonable explanation, as he could indeed see visions and had the ability to bring his creations to life. Wednesday had witnessed this before. Still, the fact that Xavier was always near when the monster attacked made her suspicious, so she pulled out the earlier drawing to confront him. Xavier then realized Wednesday had been in his studio before. Probably that time she'd been caught by him. It became clear that her invitation to the dance had only been a cover, which made him furious. Wednesday took the broken claw and the blood-stained cloth straight to Sheriff Galpin, instructing him to run a DNA test for a match. Though annoyed, the sheriff told his team to do as she asked. Back at school, she ran into a gloomy Eugene and invited him to stake out the monster's cave with her to confirm its identity. Eugene gladly agreed. On the night of the dance, Xavier attended with his ex-girlfriend Bianca. Wednesday was about to head to the cave when she froze at the door. Tyler stood there in a suit. It turned out that this was all Thing's doing. While Wednesday was out, he secretly printed an invitation card and gave it to Tyler in her name. Seeing Tyler's sincere eyes, Wednesday couldn't bring herself to hurt him, so she quickly shut the door and searched the wardrobe for a suitable dress. Thing snapped his fingers twice. It turned out he had already prepared a dress for her. Seeing Wednesday smile, Thing happily swung from the railing like a child. When Wednesday walked downstairs in the dress, Tyler's eyes went wide. But at that moment, Eugene appeared. Seeing the situation, Eugene instantly understood and decided to watch the cave alone. Wednesday stopped him, telling him they would go together the next night. Eugene agreed on the surface but went off to the cave alone anyway. When Wednesday and Tyler entered the dance, all eyes were on them. As the music started, Wednesday broke into her own zombie-style dance, sometimes strange, sometimes captivating, drawing an approving glance from Weems. Even Enid was genuinely happy for her. Just as the dance was about to end, several town pilgrims came to cause trouble. They connected the truck to the water pipes, and then one of the pilgrims flipped the switch. As blood gushed from the pipes, it instantly turned the white dance into a sea of red. Weems screamed in horror. The crowd scattered, but Wednesday calmly licked her finger. In the chaos, someone bumped into her, triggering another strange vision. She saw Eugene fall in the forest, and then the monster appeared. Without hesitation, Wednesday ran toward the woods to find him. It turned out that while watching the cave, Eugene had been confronted by a figure in black. The figure tossed a torch into the cave and then shone a flashlight toward Eugene's position. An explosion followed, and both Eugene and the figure fled. By the time Wednesday found Eugene, it was too late. He was lying in a pool of blood. Fortunately, he was still alive, though unconscious, and Wednesday felt deeply guilty. Eugene's two mothers didn't blame her, saying that he had often spoken fondly of Wednesday lately and that she made him happy. The next day, the school hosted its annual Parents' Day. But just as the entire school, along with the students' parents, was having lunch together, a group of police officers suddenly burst in and arrested Wednesday's father, Gomez, on a charge of murder. She was the coolest girl I had ever seen, always dressed in black and white, moving through life on her own terms, never caring about others' opinions, and never taking the initiative to make friends. Yet anyone who got close to her somehow ended up becoming her friend. She was the Addams' eldest daughter, Wednesday, Because Wednesday had always struggled to fit into her new school, Weems arranged for the whole family to attend counseling with a psychiatrist. However, before they had even talked for long, the couple slipped back into their overly affectionate display.
Enough!
Wednesday broke the awkward silence first, pulling out a police file of a deceased man and questioning her father about why he had been accused of murdering him when he was young. Her younger brother Pugsley grinned, ready to watch the show. Morticia, however, quickly cut Wednesday off, saying this wasn't the right time or place to bring it up, insisting Gomez was innocent and that the charges had been dropped long ago. After that, she ended the session early, leaving mother and daughter parting on bad terms. Pugsley thanked the doctor for the candy.
Actually, that's potpourri. Why don't you take the bowl?
Morticia scolded Wednesday for suddenly attacking her father with such questions, but Wednesday angrily shot back. If they had nothing to hide, why didn't they dare to tell her the truth? With tension thick in the air, they parted unhappily.
You're not hungry, darling?
My appetite eludes me, Mother. The same way the truth eludes you.
Her parents' refusal to speak about the old murder case left Wednesday deeply dissatisfied, and just as the couple was debating whether to tell her the truth, a group of police officers suddenly stormed in. In front of everyone, Sheriff Galpin arrested her father on suspicion of murder. It turned out that just moments ago, the coroner in charge of Gomez's old case had suddenly committed suicide. The police found a note at the scene in which the coroner admitted to falsifying the autopsy report all those years ago, which had allowed the real killer, Gomez, to walk free. Racked with guilt over his past actions, the coroner decided to end his life before retiring. As for the old murder case, Sheriff Galpin had held a grudge for many years, so he eagerly arrested Gomez. Wednesday went to the jail to see her father, and under her pressing questions, Gomez finally told her what had happened back then. When he was young, a normal human boy named Garrett was obsessively infatuated with Morticia and often stalked her. Terrified, Morticia had gone to the police, but Garrett came from the town's oldest and wealthiest family, and his father was a bigoted man who hated outcasts. The police wouldn't dare get involved. On the night of the school dance, a young Gomez and Morticia were dancing outside when Garrett suddenly stormed into the school. Seeing his beloved with someone else, he was consumed by rage, drew his sword, and charged at Gomez. After a scuffle, Garrett suddenly looked abnormally vicious and inexplicably impaled himself on Gomez's sword, then instantly fell from the rooftop to the ground. At that moment, a young Weems happened to pass by, looking up just in time to see Gomez holding the sword. With Weems accusing him, Gomez was quickly arrested, but the charges were suddenly dropped a few days later, and he was released. Gomez's account sounded sincere, and at first, Wednesday believed him, but she soon spotted the signs. Stroking his mustache, winking for reassurance, little gestures he only made when lying. Since the age of 12, she had been playing Russian roulette with her father. There was no way his tells could escape her.
I'm sorry. I wasn't a better father.
Could we please do without the overt display of emotion?
I know they make you feel uncomfortable.
How many fathers hand their daughter a fencing blade when she's 5 years old?
Your saber strokes were an essay in perfection. They found you as cold-blooded as I do.
Or teach her how to swim with sharks. The right way to flay a rattlesnake. The point I'm trying to make is you taught me how to be strong and independent. How to navigate myself in a world full of treachery and prejudice. You are the reason I understand how imperative it is that I never lose sight of myself. So as far as fatherhood goes, I'd say you've been more than adequate.
Gracias, Wednesday.
She didn't expose him but went straight to Sheriff Galpin, firmly telling him that Garrett wasn't killed by her father and that something else was going on. Moreover, the coroner's death was too suspicious. Silent for 30 years, yet choosing death to atone just before retirement. And all this happened precisely when her father reappeared, which was far too coincidental. Sheriff Galpin replied that Gomez had already signed a confession and explained why he was so eager to see him punished. After Garrett's death, his mother hanged herself, his father drank himself to death, and his sister was sent overseas, only to drown soon after. According to the sheriff, Gomez had destroyed not just Garrett, but his entire family. The words left Wednesday stunned. In the Nightshade Society's secret room at school, Wednesday found her mother, who was ready to come clean.
So go on, ask.
Father didn't kill Garrett Gates, did he?
No.
It turned out Garrett had not been killed by Gomez at all, but by Morticia. When Morticia had followed them upstairs, Garrett had already lost control, pinning Gomez down and beating him relentlessly. She tried to intervene but suddenly noticed Garrett's bloodshot eyes and foaming mouth like a rabid beast. As he charged toward her, she instinctively grabbed a sword from the ground. At the same moment Garrett fell, a terrified scream came from downstairs. Gomez calmly took the sword from Morticia's hands. When Weems looked up, she happened to see Gomez holding the longsword. Gomez then urged Morticia to leave quickly and pretend she had never been there, while he took all the blame upon himself. After hearing her mother's account, Wednesday thought for a moment and noticed something odd.
You said Garrett was foaming at the mouth. His eyes didn't look human.
I've never seen someone so blinded by rage.
Or maybe it wasn't rage at all. Foaming saliva, dilated pupils, mental confusion. What are those all textbook symptoms of?
How can that be?
To confirm her suspicion, Wednesday actually dug up Garrett's grave and eagerly asked her mother to come along. When the coffin was opened, the stench of decay filled the air, and Wednesday inhaled deeply in delight. Seeing Garrett's bluish corpse, she knew she had been right. At that moment, a policewoman suddenly arrived. Gomez had been arrested for murder just that day, and now mother and daughter were digging up the victim's grave. The quirky Addams family had a big reunion in the holding cell that very night. The parents, who hadn't seen each other for half a day, immediately started their affectionate display. Wednesday gave them a big surprise. Gomez thought she was going to help him escape. Instead, Wednesday handed him a severed finger. It turned out that before her arrest, she had secretly broken off one of Garrett's fingers. The blue sheen on the finger indicated Garrett died from nightshade poisoning. This meant that before Morticia stabbed him, Garrett had already been on the brink of death. Hearing the good news, Wednesday's parents were overjoyed and immediately became affectionate again. The moment Wednesday held the finger, a vision struck her. In the vision, Garrett's father handed him a bottle of poison and ordered him to sneak into the dance to kill the entire outcast school. But during the fight, Garrett accidentally hit a pillar, crushing the bottle, and ended up using all the poison on himself. The next day, mother and daughter went to see Mayor Walker, laying Garrett's severed finger right in front of him. In truth, the mayor had long known the real cause of Garrett's death because back then he was the sheriff in charge of the case, and he had been bribed by Garrett's father. To cover up the truth, he colluded with the coroner to falsify the autopsy report, but at least his conscience remained, so he released Gomez, citing insufficient evidence. Mother and daughter threatened the mayor's reputation, demanding he release Gomez immediately and that the entire police department issue a full and clear apology. Mayor Walker had no choice but to comply. Once the crisis was resolved, the rift between Wednesday and her mother began to ease.
When did your visions begin?
A few months ago. Before I left for Nevermore.
I'm sorry you didn't feel you could tell me. I know we've had our difficulties lately, but I'm always here for you, Wednesday. Always.
After hearing her mother's words, Wednesday finally voiced the question she had long carried in her heart. When she touched certain people or objects, she would suddenly see fragments of the past or the future. But she didn't know how to control this ability. Morticia told Wednesday that psychic visions depend on one's nature. Morticia was a white dove type, whose visions were always positive and beautiful. Wednesday, however, was a raven type, destined to see disasters and misfortunes, with visions that were more powerful and intense. But such abilities couldn't be trained by the living. When the time came, an ancestor in the family would appear to guide them. Wednesday told her mother that her guide might be Goody, as she had recently seen her in visions. Morticia, upon hearing this, solemnly warned Wednesday to be careful. Goody was a witch of immense power, but her thirst for vengeance was so deep that she couldn't even save herself. After Gomez was declared innocent, Sheriff Galpin offered a sincere apology. Then the family embraced warmly, and this time, Wednesday, unconsciously, joined in. Parents' weekend soon came to an end. Her brother hugged her tightly, reluctant to let go. Knowing Wednesday dislikes kisses, the mother bid her beloved daughter a heartfelt farewell in a respectful way. After her parents left, Wednesday opened the old school yearbook her mother had left her, filled with records of her parents' happy times at school. But as she looked through it, she noticed something wrong and stormed straight into Weems's office.
I did witness Roan getting murdered that night. When Roan appeared the next morning, it was you.
Wednesday had discovered in the old yearbook that during a duet performance with her mother, Weems had taken on the appearance of a famous actress, meaning Weems was a shapeshifter. Wednesday was furious at the deception, but Weems claimed she was only protecting the outcast school from controversy. While they were arguing, a commotion suddenly came from outside the window. On the school's field, someone had spelled out with flames, "The fire will come." At the same time, Mayor Walker received reports from residents that lights had been seen at Garrett's old mansion late at night, but the whole family was dead. So who could possibly be in such a grim and cursed place? For this reason, he specially retrieved the death certificate of Garrett's sister who had drowned overseas, only to discover with shock that her body had never been found. Soon, Wednesday's 16th birthday arrived. In her dorm room, she carefully arranged a mysterious ritual circle, hoping to summon her ancestor Goody. Suddenly, the door creaked open and all the candles went out. Her heart leapt with excitement, thinking Goody had finally appeared, but it was only her roommate Enid. Though disappointed, Wednesday was more anxious than anything. She urgently needed Goody's help. For the past 6 months, whenever she touched certain people or objects, visions would appear in her mind, some of past events, some of future ones, and without exception, they all came true. Just yesterday, the blazing message, "The fire will come," appeared on the school field, exactly matching the great campus fire she had seen in a vision. Her mother had told her that only Goody could teach her to control the visions, so she had to find Goody fast to prevent the disaster. Just then, a piece of paper was slipped under the door. It read, "If you want answers, meet me at Crackstone's crypt at midnight." Half curious, half suspicious, Wednesday arrived at the crypt on time.
Surprise!
Only then did she realize it was a surprise birthday party her classmates had planned for her, complete with an all-black cake. But Wednesday didn't care about the surprise. Her eyes were drawn to the words painted on the wall. "When I rise, the fire will come." She instinctively reached out to touch the writing, and in an instant was pulled into a vision. In it, Goody kept repeating the same warning. Crackstone is coming. Goody's entire family had been burned alive by him. In earlier visions, Goody had appeared terrified when she warned Wednesday.
He won't stop until he's killed us all! He's here.
There will be no escape for you.
But Crackstone had been dead for 300 years. How could he pose a threat now? For the moment, the most urgent task was to stop the school fire. Wednesday desperately asked Goody how to control her psychic ability. Goody replied helplessly that it couldn't be controlled, only mastered, then turned toward an iron door, warning Wednesday gravely that they had no time left. If she wanted to stop Crackstone, she must find this place. Wednesday was puzzled by the sudden return to the topic of Crackstone, and just as she was about to ask more, Goody's image vanished. Suddenly, she remembered that 30 years ago, Rowan's seer mother had painted a prophecy. Wednesday locked in a deadly battle with Crackstone, surrounded by the burning school. This fire and Crackstone must be connected. Back in her dorm, Wednesday quickly sketched the iron door from her vision. That was when Thing pulled a box out from under the bed. It was a birthday gift from her parents, a set of dissection tools, and 2 chilled squirrels. Enid was both baffled and disgusted, while Wednesday lamented that it would have been better if the squirrels were alive. As she was busy with her gifts, Enid handed her own present, a knitted scarf. To show their friendship, Enid had even made a matching one for herself. Wednesday took her sketch of the iron door to Xavier, and coincidentally, he had drawn it too. He told her it was Garrett's old mansion. He had been dreaming of the place for days, so he put it on paper. At that moment, Thing abruptly uncovered another painting. Xavier moved his hand, and the painted Wednesday began playing the cello. Faced with Xavier's intense admiration and affection, Wednesday felt conflicted, because she still suspected that Xavier was the monster responsible for the frequent killings. So she turned and left without a word. She went straight to Garrett's old mansion. Just as she was about to enter, she sensed movement inside and hid. Moments later, Mayor Walker stepped out, calling Sheriff Galpin to say he knew who the mastermind was and arranging to meet him at a cafe. With Thing distracting the mayor, Wednesday slipped into his trunk. However, upon reaching the coffee shop, Mayor Walker had just stepped out of the car when a blue vehicle suddenly hit him, then sped away. By the time Sheriff Galpin arrived, all he saw was Mayor Walker lying on the ground and Wednesday standing nearby. After taking her statement, he let Wednesday return to school. When Weems found out, she was furious. With several murders happening in town and Wednesday somehow involved each time, she ordered the school locked down and revoked Wednesday's off-campus privileges. But Wednesday didn't give up on the investigation. She first called Tyler, pretending to ask him on a date, and told him to meet her at the school gates at 8 p.m. Then she tricked Enid, saying she wanted a girls' moonlit bonding night. Naive Enid used her transformation as an excuse to get an off-campus pass. When they met in the car, Enid and Tyler were both confused.
He's our Uber driver?
Uber driver?
I thought this was a girls' night out.
I thought we were going on a date.
There's been a change of plans. Just drive.
In the end, they had no choice but to go along with Wednesday. Just after they left, Xavier arrived at Wednesday's dorm. He wanted to apologize for that last drawing, but from Thing he learned that Wednesday had gone to the old mansion. By then, the three had already reached the mansion, but this time the front door was locked. Tyler shook it hard, but it wouldn't budge. Enid said she would give it a try, and to Tyler's shock, she pulled it open in just 2 tugs. She calmly explained it was thanks to her werewolf genes. The moment they stepped inside, Wednesday spotted the very same blue car that had run down Mayor Walker. In the living room, a huge family portrait hung in the center, and it was none other than Garrett's family. The problem was, they were all dead. Why had Goody led her here? On a nearby bookshelf, Wednesday noticed an unusually clean wooden frame. She pressed on it, and the cabinet slowly opened, revealing a huge portrait of Crackstone inside, with an altar set beneath it. When she stepped closer, she saw words written on both sides of the portrait. "When I rise, the blood rain will fall." What shocked her even more was that the candles on the altar were still warm. Enid grew more frightened, but Wednesday kept her cool and assigned tasks. Tyler was to search the first floor, while she and Enid went upstairs. They found one of the rooms seemed to be in use. The bed was neatly made, and fresh flowers stood on the nightstand. There was also a music box, and from the initials LG on it, they knew it had belonged to Laurel Gates, the sister who had supposedly drowned. Just then, a noise came from downstairs. As they headed down, the monster began crawling up toward them, and Wednesday quickly shoved Enid onto the dumbwaiter. Before the creature could reach them, they slammed the door shut. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, the monster began attacking the dumbwaiter. Finally, the rope couldn't hold their weight, and the dumbwaiter plunged downward. Luckily, they weren't badly hurt, but when they got up, they realized they had fallen into a strange basement lined with shelves of bottles filled with liquid. Just then, the monster's sound returned. Wednesday pushed Enid out through a window and went back to check the bottles. Looking closely, they contained human tissue. The monster was already coming downstairs. Just as it approached, Wednesday slipped out through the window. Enid, furious, ran back toward the school. But when she glanced back, she saw Wednesday running the other way. They found Tyler, who had already been injured by the monster. At that moment, Xavier arrived, taking off his scarf to hand to Tyler for the bleeding. After returning, Wednesday was bandaging Tyler's wound when his father barged in. Despite Sheriff Galpin's anger, Wednesday insisted on taking him to the mansion. But when they got there, the blue car and all the jars containing the body parts were gone. Sheriff Galpin angrily warned Wednesday never to see his son again and to stay out of anything involving the monster. Back at the dorm, Enid angrily packed her things, intending to move out. She was furious that Wednesday had put her in danger just to achieve her own goal.
We could have died tonight because of your stupid obsession.
But we didn't. And now I'm one step closer to solving this case. That is what is important.
I've tried really, really, really hard to be your friend. Always put myself out there, thought of your feelings, told people, I know she gives off serial killer vibes, but she's really just shy.
I never asked you to do that.
You didn't have to because that's what friends do. They don't have to be asked. You don't know that says everything.
After venting, Enid stormed out with her suitcase, leaving Wednesday standing alone in the now empty room. Goody had once warned her in a vision, "You are a raven with my blood. The raven's path is lonely. You will die alone, unable to trust anyone, seeing only the darkness in people's hearts." Wednesday had always thought dying alone was nothing to fear, but right now she felt an unbearable ache. She realized she feared it after all. Still, her pursuit of the truth did not stop. She opened the music box she had taken from the mansion, hoping for clues, but as she closed it, several photos fell out from a hidden compartment. There were pictures of her playing the cello, and even of her trip to the mansion with Tyler. Someone had been watching her from the shadows all along. Meanwhile, just as Mayor Walker was about to wake up, a mysterious figure removed his oxygen tube. At the mayor's funeral, Wednesday noticed a dark figure watching her from a distance. Seeing Wednesday had spotted them, the figure turned and ran. She quickly chased after them. Deep in the secluded woods, the figure vanished. It turned out to be her Uncle Fester. Wednesday asked her uncle how long he had been following her. Fester said he had only rushed over that morning and that he had learned from Wednesday's father that his niece had recently gotten into trouble.
Monsters, murder, mayhem. What fun!
So, risking being wanted by the police, he had come to visit his beloved niece. Wednesday settled her uncle at her friend Eugene's beekeeping shed and showed him the sketch of the monster. With one glance, her uncle identified it as a hide. The hide was a rare kind of creature, usually dormant and indistinguishable from a normal person. Only chemical inducement or deep hypnosis could break the seal and awaken it, and once awakened, it would see the one who freed it as its master, obeying without question. Wednesday finally realized there wasn't just one killer, there were two. One was the monster, and the other was its master. She focused her suspicion on her prime suspect, Xavier. Every time the monster attacked, Xavier was somehow on the scene, and he was obsessed with drawing the creature, even sketching its lair. And last time, right after Tyler was attacked, Xavier had shown up conveniently. She and her uncle followed Xavier and saw him secretly meeting with the school therapist, Dr. Kinbot, which reinforced her suspicion. As a therapist, Kinbot would know all her patients' secrets. She must have discovered Xavier was a Hyde during counseling and used hypnosis to awaken him. While Wednesday read about Hydes in a diary and discussed it with her uncle, he was more interested in the maple syrup on the table. At that moment, Tyler delivered some coffee. After greeting Uncle Fester, Tyler's eyes landed on the Hyde diary, and he seemed unusually interested. Just then, Sheriff Galpin entered the cafe. By the time Tyler looked back, Uncle Fester had vanished. Sheriff Galpin handed Tyler a wanted poster for a bank robber, asking him to pin it on the notice board. Wednesday glanced sideways. The person on it was Uncle Fester. After Sheriff Galpin left, Tyler proposed a date with Wednesday that night, but Wednesday, busy investigating the Hyde, firmly declined. Yet Tyler brought up the previous date incident. As compensation, Wednesday reluctantly agreed. Back in the dorm, while waiting for the date, Enid pushed the door open, saying her nail polish was missing and she had come back to look for it.
This is the third time in 24 hours you've forgotten something.
So, how's everything going?
Solitude suits me. With no annoying distractions, I'm almost finished with my novel.
Was I an annoying distraction?
You definitely had some annoying habits.
Such as?
You giggle when you text, which is a 24/7 addiction.
Well, at least it's not a migraine-inducing typewriter hammering into my head.
When you're not grinding your canines, you growl in your sleep.
As opposed to late-night cello solos.
You overcommit to clubs and activities and then complain about them non-stop.
I'd take that over your obsession with all things creepy and dead.
You could gas an entire small village with the amount of perfume you spritz. That's just off the top of my head.
Guess I'm the lucky one with a new bestie that doesn't try to find ways to endanger literally everybody she comes into contact with.
Enid had actually used this as an excuse to make up with Wednesday, but Wednesday's attitude hurt her again, and the two parted on bad terms. Tyler, to his credit, turned out to be quite romantic. When Wednesday opened her eyes, the gloomy crackstone crypt had been transformed into a warm, dreamlike scene under golden lights and candle glow. In the center of the crypt, snacks and a projector had been prepared, and for once the usually aloof Wednesday was genuinely moved. But to her surprise, the promised horror movie had been switched to a sweet romance film. Seizing the moment, Tyler confessed his feelings to Wednesday. The atmosphere grew more intimate, and just as they were about to take things further, Sheriff Galpin suddenly burst in. Seeing the two young people on a date in a crypt left him speechless. When Wednesday returned to her dorm, she was shocked to find the place in disarray. The Hyde diary was gone, and her beloved companion Thing had been cruelly pinned to the wall, gravely injured. Wednesday scooped up Thing and ran as fast as she could to find her uncle. Her uncle applied electrical pulses again and again, but Thing showed no response. He tried once more, shocking Thing repeatedly, and just as Wednesday was about to lose hope, Thing finally stirred back to life. But Thing had been stabbed from behind, so he didn't know who had attacked him. Whoever it was, they had hurt someone dearest to her, and Wednesday swore to Thing, pinky promise, that she would find the culprit and get justice. The next day, Mayor Walker's son Lucas brought a crucial lead. On his father's computer, he found files proving that Laurel, who was said to have drowned overseas, had not died at all. She had secretly returned to town a year ago. Wednesday became convinced that Kinbot was actually Laurel. Using her position as a therapist, she had gotten close to young outcasts, discovered Xavier was a hidden Hyde, and awakened him through hypnosis to make him her tool of revenge. Wednesday stormed into Kinbot's office to confront her.
I know you're Laurel Gates. You've come back to Jericho to seek your revenge.
But Kinbot flatly denied everything. To Wednesday's shock, moments after she left the clinic, Kinbot was attacked by the Hyde. The Hyde had turned on its master. Determined to stop it from hurting anyone else, Wednesday decided to take down Xavier immediately. That night, when Xavier returned to his studio, Wednesday was already waiting. She slammed the knife used on Thing into the table. Xavier vehemently denied everything, but Wednesday yanked away his newest painting, clearly showing the scene of Kinbot's attack. She then found Eugene's glasses, secret photos of herself, and Kinbot's personal necklace in the studio. Before Xavier could explain, Sheriff Galpin arrested him. With the nightmare seemingly over, Wednesday returned to the dorm in relief, only to be pleasantly surprised that Enid had moved back in.
You're back. I'm gone for a few days, the place gets trashed, and Thing almost dies. Someone's gotta look out for you two.
Why the sudden change of heart?
Because we work. We shouldn't, but we do. It's like some sort of weird friendship anomaly. Everything you said about me is true, but I don't apologize for it. Not anymore. It's just who I am.
Wednesday gave her a small nod, and their rift began to heal. Taking advantage of the rare calm, Wednesday went to the cafe to find Tyler, intent on finishing the kiss that had been interrupted. But as soon as Tyler kissed her back, Wednesday was pulled into a vision. She saw the monster attacking Kinbot, then slowly transforming back into Tyler. Tyler was the real Hyde. Wednesday staggered out of the cafe, never imagining that the boy she had just grown fond of was the very monster she had been hunting all along. That night, under the cover of darkness, Wednesday lured Tyler to a small grove. Before he could react, members of the Nightshade Society surrounded him.
You're coming with us.
In a remote cabin, Tyler was chained tightly. No matter how she threatened him, Tyler feigned innocence, insisting he wasn't the monster. To force him to transform, Wednesday suddenly pulled out a half-meter-long steel saw. This made the classmates panic, as there was no concrete proof Tyler was the monster yet, and vigilante justice was illegal. They reported everything to Weems, who immediately contacted Tyler's father. Just as Wednesday picked up a hammer to test his reaction, Sheriff Galpin burst in. Strangely, Sheriff Galpin didn't intend to press charges against Wednesday. Wednesday instantly realized Sheriff Galpin had probably known about his son all along. She turned to leave, but was suddenly called back by Tyler. Tyler still looked harmless, but his words were chilling. He then gave her a mocking warning.
You have no idea what's coming.
Under Wednesday's furious gaze, their relationship was completely severed. Sheriff Galpin's condition for not pressing charges was that Wednesday be immediately expelled from Nevermore Academy. This time, even Weems couldn't protect her. Before boarding the train, Wednesday visited Eugene, who had just woken up. Eugene mentioned that on the day he was attacked, he vaguely remembered seeing the person who blew up the monster's lair wearing red boots. This detail hit Wednesday like lightning. The Hyde's master wasn't Kinbot at all, but Thornhill, who always wore red boots. At that moment, Thornhill was extracting nightshade toxin. Wednesday confronted her directly.
You can drop the act, Laurel. I should have known it was you.
Thornhill tried to cover, but Wednesday told her Tyler had already revealed everything. At first, Wednesday had thought Kinbot used hypnosis to awaken the Hyde, but chemicals extracted from plants could have the same effect. Thornhill was actually Laurel Gates, Garrett's little sister. She had grown up hearing her father talk about Tyler's mother being a Hyde, so she targeted Tyler, manipulating him by revealing the truth about his mother. Initially, Tyler wasn't so obedient, so Laurel used the cave and handcuffs, step by step turning Tyler into her servant. Kinbot had noticed Tyler's abnormal behavior, which was why she was killed. After hearing Wednesday's analysis, Thornhill simply stopped pretending.
Tyler, honey, make Mama happy and shut her up. Permanently?
He's not on your side.
Tyler will do anything for me.
Heard enough?
Under Thornhill's astonished gaze, Tyler transformed into Weems. Weems collapsed without warning, foaming at the mouth, and stopped breathing. Before Wednesday could process this, Thornhill knocked her unconscious with a shovel. Seeing the situation unfold, Thing trembled in the corner. He cautiously retreated and hurried back to the dorm, telling Enid everything that had just happened and asking her to gather the Nightshade Society members. When Wednesday woke up, she found herself hanging inside Crackstone's crypt. It turned out that everything Laurel had done was to bring Crackstone back to life. Years ago, after Crackstone was killed by Wednesday's ancestor, Goody Addams, Goody united other outcasts to establish Nevermore Academy, a place that welcomed children rejected by so-called normal humans, and sealed Crackstone's soul forever in the school's crypt. The Laurel family's mission for generations had been to fulfill Crackstone's wish, to wipe out every outcast in the world, and Garrett had died for that cause. But Laurel chose a different approach. She wanted to use supernatural power to resurrect Crackstone directly, and Wednesday was the key. Goody had sealed Crackstone into a stone coffin with her blood, and only her direct descendant, under a blood moon, could bring him back. With that, Laurel sliced Wednesday's palm, pressing it against the coffin. The moment her hand touched it, a flash of red light burst out. Laurel began chanting incantations incessantly. After thunder and lightning, thick black smoke billowed from the stone coffin. Crackstone was truly resurrected. Seeing Wednesday, he mistook her for Goody and drove a blade into her abdomen. Then he and Laurel left to slaughter all the outcast students at the school. As Wednesday lay dying, Goody appeared, telling her she must pierce Crackstone's black heart. That was the only way to destroy him completely. Goody told Wednesday to take out the necklace Morticia had given her. It was actually a powerful talisman, allowing Goody to pass through Wednesday's body to heal her wounds, but doing so would erase Goody's soul forever. With her final words spoken, Goody smiled and stepped into Wednesday's body, and Wednesday's wound miraculously healed. Meanwhile, to stop the prophecy from coming true, members of the Nightshade Society began evacuating the students while Enid and Thing went to rescue Wednesday. Perhaps out of sheer determination to save her friend Enid, who had never transformed into a wolf before, began to change at that very moment. Wednesday raced toward the school but was blocked by Tyler, who transformed into the hide and pinned her against a tree. Just as he raised his claws, when the wolf turned its head and growled at her, Wednesday saw the tuft of pink hair and instantly recognized her roommate, Enid. While Enid fought the hide, Wednesday sprinted toward the school. By then, Crackstone had already broken in. As he swung his staff, a scene from Wednesday's visions came to life. Students flooding out of the school in panic, with Crackstone blocking those who lagged behind, ready to kill. Xavier rushed in with a bow, but his arrow didn't harm Crackstone at all. Instead, Crackstone turned it back toward him. In the nick of time, Wednesday shielded Xavier, telling him to take the remaining students to safety. Then she yanked the arrow from her shoulder and charged Crackstone in a final duel. The prophecy painting from 30 years ago was now reality. But after only a few exchanges, Wednesday's sword shattered. Crackstone twisted his staff and blasted her to the ground. At that moment, a long sword pierced through Crackstone's back. He turned and struck Bianca, sending her flying. Seizing Crackstone's moment of distraction, Wednesday hurriedly picked up the sword from the ground. Remembering Goody's instruction, she twisted the sword in her hand and completely pierced Crackstone's heart. With an explosion, Crackstone vanished completely. They thought it was all over, but with the sound of a gun being cocked, Laurel approached with a weapon in hand.
I might not get to kill all the outcasts, but at least I'll get to kill you, Wednesday.
At the critical moment, a bee landed on the barrel, then launched itself at Laurel. Within seconds, a swarm of thousands engulfed her. It was Eugene. He learned from Enid's video that Wednesday was in danger, and despite his weakness and his mother's attempts to stop him, he immediately came to her rescue.
Hummer stick together.
Wednesday's eyes grew wet. She told Eugene to turn away, then walked slowly toward Laurel. Elsewhere, Enid was still pinned by Tyler when a gunshot rang out. It was Tyler's father. Tyler tried to attack, but Enid blocked him, then delivered a flying kick that knocked him out cold. The unconscious Tyler reverted to human form and was picked up by his father. Exhausted, Enid collapsed to the ground, slowly changing back to human with Thing by her side. Under the admiring gazes of everyone, the usually timid Enid timidly returned to the group, but looking around, she realized Wednesday was nowhere to be seen.
Where's Wednesday?
When no one answered, Enid felt a pang of dread, until 3 figures appeared in the distance. She ran forward and threw her arms around Wednesday without hesitation, and this time Wednesday didn't resist. Instead, she hugged Enid tightly. From constant rejection to taking the initiative to embrace, Wednesday had finally learned to open her heart to friendship. Once she had seen friends as a burden, keeping her distance from everyone, walking alone. But after everything, she realized friendship and trust were not weights to carry. They were the source of strength to face the darkness. And that was the true meaning of Nevermore Academy. To embrace every unique soul, to accept your own strangeness and that of others. Everyone could be free to be themselves, to hold on to one another, and face the greater unknown world together. After 3 years, the fantasy mystery series Wednesday, which once earned over 300,000 viewers' ratings above 8 out of 10, finally returns with its 2nd season. Not only does the original cast come back, but Lady Gaga also makes a guest appearance, and the story is even more bizarre than before. Within just a few hours of release, the ratings skyrocketed. At the very start, Wednesday is tied up in the basement of a serial killer. The sound of chains and blades scraping slowly approaches. Will she, like the other victims, be turned into a strange doll? Everything has to be traced back to 6 weeks ago. Wednesday was spending her vacation studying the spellbook left by Wednesday Addams, honing her psychic powers. She wanted to use it to solve a murder case she had been obsessed with since she was 6, committed by the Kansas City Skinner, a serial killer who gave the police endless headaches. Thing helped by stealing a bowling ball from the police evidence locker. As she gently touched the ball and focused her thoughts, she finally saw the face of the Skinner. To catch him, Wednesday had to board the airplane she hated the most. However, she ran into trouble during the security check. Not only that, security also found Thing in her suitcase. Wednesday calmly explained that it was a model for a mortician's convention she was attending. But the next second, security pulled out a tube of sunscreen, and since it exceeded the 100 milliliter limit, it was confiscated as well. Following her psychic visions, Wednesday quickly found the Skinner, but the moment she grabbed his arm, she accidentally triggered her ability again. Strangely, 2 streams of black tears poured from her eyes. Her visions vanished instantly, and she fainted on the ground. When she woke again, Wednesday was tightly bound, locked inside the Skinner's doll room. The Skinner slowly pushed in a cart full of knives, ready to turn Wednesday into his next doll model.
Let me show you some of my own handiwork.
With Wednesday and Thing working together, the serial case was finally solved. She realized the black tears must mean something had gone wrong with her psychic powers, but even after searching through the spellbook, she found nothing about it. The vacation soon ended, and during these days, Wednesday had been either catching killers or busy writing her novel. The family escorted Wednesday back to Nevermore Academy, and this year her brother Pugsley was also starting school. He had the same electrical powers as their uncle, but he always missed his target. Wednesday thought his ability might help her, so she trained him to hit the O in a stop sign, or else she would press the eject button in the car. A car brushed past the Addams family vehicle, and a woman stepped out passionately embracing her lover. They did not know that not far away, a private detective captured the fiery scene with his camera. On the tree behind him landed a crow. The right side of his face looked strange, and soon more crows descended all around. With a strange command from the lead crow, they all attacked the detective, scaring him into running back to his car, dialing the last call of his life. The Addams family car pulled up to Nevermore Academy. Wednesday stood at the entrance, expressionless. For her, returning to school was like returning to a crime scene. She could almost smell where the next body was buried. Morticia reminded Wednesday to take good care of her brother.
I always do.
In the last season, Wednesday stopped Thornhill's plan and saved her classmates from danger, so she became recognized as their savior. They all rushed forward asking for Wednesday's autograph, but she disliked the crowding. Fortunately, Bianca used her voice to hypnotize the group, helping Wednesday escape the unwanted attention. Just as she was about to leave, the new principal Dort arrived to introduce himself. He wanted to revive the tradition of the bonfire celebration and asked Wednesday to be the honored student guest.
I would rather be burned at the stake.
Back in her dorm, Wednesday tore down the fan posters from her wall. When she entered the room, it had almost turned into a werewolf den. Enid knew Wednesday disliked noise, so she asked the others to leave. Though Wednesday didn't understand love, from the way Enid and Bruno looked at each other, she sensed something unusual. Enid happily took out a gift, a shirt printed with a werewolf design. Wednesday returned the favor with a doll she had taken from the Skinner. Enid was very interested in Wednesday's new novel, and it was said that this work carried 2 years of her dedication. As they were talking, a sudden knock came at the door. It was Ajax delivering a gift for Enid. Enid panicked and shook her head from behind the door. Wednesday covered for her, reluctantly taking the pink doll with 2 fingers and immediately slamming the door shut. Enid explained she was no longer sure of her feelings for Ajax. Ajax still loved who she used to be, but she had already changed a lot. Wednesday gave a perfunctory reply while pushing open the storage room door. An arrow swiftly grazed past their faces and embedded itself in the wall, with a photo attached to it. Under the photo were 2 lines of writing. "Welcome back, Wednesday. I'm still watching you." Wednesday pulled down the photo, wanting to trace the mastermind, but unexpectedly, her psychic powers failed, and a stream of black tears ran from her right eye. Pugsley was assigned to share a dorm with Eugene. He seemed more cheerful than Wednesday, but inside he still preferred dark and bizarre things. Hearing that Eugene once had his stomach cut open by a monster, he shouted it was amazing. Especially when Ajax came to visit, Pugsley became even more excited. Since Thornhill was locked away in the asylum, the gardener's cottage had been empty. Principal Dort, in order to keep Morticia, offered her the cottage key and invited her to be the chair of the fundraising committee. Morticia could not help but marvel at the romantic pink decor. Since Goody Addams left, no other ancestors had contacted Wednesday. Morticia wanted to stay to help her and considered accepting the proposal. But Wednesday was not pleased. She believed she was a raven while Morticia was a dove, different and unconnected. Morticia said she had experience with ravens, and she was referring to her own sister, who was Wednesday's aunt. All these years, Morticia had never spoken of her sister. But as Wednesday grew older, she worried more and more that her daughter might share the same fate. Troubled, Wednesday wandered into the woods, where she unexpectedly saw the police investigating a case. The couple having an affair discovered the private detective's body. His entire body was covered in wounds, and both of his eyes had been taken by the crows. Wednesday discovered a sneaky man at the scene. While the man hurriedly tried to escape, Wednesday took a shortcut to get ahead. With one kick, she subdued him. Only then did she see clearly. It was the monster Tyler's father, Sheriff Galpin. He admitted that the private detective Carl was his partner, and the two had recently been investigating a strange case, which might have been the reason for Carl's murder. Before leaving, he also reminded Wednesday that the birds were always watching. Nevermore Academy had a dorm tradition. On the first night of school, they told the story of the skeleton tree. Long ago, there was a clever boy. He planned to build all kinds of machines in the future, but his heart was too weak. He was bedridden every day with only a few months left to live. So the boy designed a clockwork heart. He placed it inside his body to extend his life. The cold, ticking heart fueled the boy's ambition. He began inventing all sorts of dangerous things, and in the end, he died from his own creation. Legend said his body was buried under the skeleton tree. If you pressed your ear close to the hollow, you could still hear the ticking sound. Pugsley listened, and his face showed a thrill he had never felt before. He did not sleep the whole night and finally found the location of the skeleton tree. Principal Dort secretly asked Bianca to meet in his office. He valued Bianca's power to confuse and hypnotize, persuading her to become the student liaison for the fundraising gala. Principal Dort threatened that the school was now in financial trouble. If the fundraising target was not reached, then some scholarship students would have to leave, and Bianca was one of them. After much hesitation, she could only agree to Principal Dort's demand. Enid specially made a sweet home for Thing and even invited her werewolf friends to celebrate the housewarming. When Wednesday came back, she was forced to leave by the noisy atmosphere. She went to the music room and played her cello furiously until the string suddenly snapped. Only then did she notice an unexpected guest had arrived. The woman was the new music teacher, Isadora. She pointed out that Wednesday had many things to improve. The most important was to stop trying to control music, but to surrender to its beautiful chaos.
I cause chaos. I don't succumb to it.
The next day, Wednesday received a strange painting from a friend, a crow standing on a tombstone. Before she could uncover its secret, she found her 2-year-old novel had vanished. The thief even left a note, hinting that her novel would be burned at the bonfire. Wednesday originally had no interest in the bonfire, but now she had no choice but to attend. She searched the crowd for suspicious figures, but suddenly discovered something stuffed in her pocket. The moment her hand reached in, it was cut and bled. Carefully pulling it out, she saw the note stuck with razor blades, and it said that her novel was hidden under the firewood. Fearing her 2 years of work would be turned to ashes, Wednesday pushed away the logs and climbed right in. As the bonfire reached its peak, she finally found the novel in the center of the woodpile. At that moment, Principal Dort was about to ignite the bonfire with his firepower. As the Firebird exploded into fireworks in the sky, Wednesday barely escaped the burning logs, stepping out before the crowd. Principal Dort announced she was Nevermore Academy's honored student, and unveiled the painting that had been covered with black cloth. Wednesday felt humiliated. She was already angry, and now looking at the painting with such cheerful brightness, every brushstroke was something she hated most. So she took the microphone and spoke harshly to the students.
You thought I was your hero? I'm not. I always play dirty and I never fight fair. The only side I'm on is my own. And the only place I'll lead you is off a cliff.
So do not put me on a pedestal, because I will burn it down.
After that, Wednesday grabbed a torch and burned the painting, then left the bonfire party without looking back. Enid could not understand why Wednesday suddenly burst into anger. She chased after her, wanting an explanation. But the instant they touched, Wednesday's eyes suddenly poured out black tears, and she was dragged into another space. In that space, crows circled around. Their mournful cries pierced her ears, and in front of her, the most prominent tombstone bore the name of Enid.
Die because of you!
At the same moment, Pugsley carried a shovel to the skeleton tree. When he pressed his ear to the hollow, he really heard the ticking sound. Then a crow flew out, frightening him so much he fell to the ground, and at that instant he accidentally triggered his electrical power. The zombies behind him burst from the soil, awakened by the shock. Pugsley looked at the decaying corpse, and instead of fear, he felt only excitement. When Wednesday woke up, Morticia told her that black tears symbolized the exhaustion of psychic power. Once a user abused their gift, this was the result. Years ago, Wednesday's aunt had refused to listen to Morticia's advice, and in the end, she met a tragic fate. So Morticia demanded Wednesday hand over Goody's spellbook, but Wednesday refused. She insisted on finding the cause of her unstable power, and on saving Enid, who was destined to die. Sheriff Galpin's warning, the painting from her friend, and the things Wednesday saw in another space were all inseparable from that crow. She decided to ask Galpin about it, but found he had long been dead on the sofa. His eyes were taken, leaving only horrifying hollows, the same as the private detective's death. Wednesday bent down to observe Galpin's gaping mouth. Countless crows rushed out wailing. In an instant, they filled the whole room. They scrambled to smash the glass and escape, leaving only one crow with a strange right face staring at Wednesday for a moment, before flapping its wings and flying away. Wednesday had no time to chase. She wanted to first figure out Galpin's cause of death. She placed her hand on his body, but found she still could not activate her psychic power. Just then, new trouble came. Wednesday was arrested and interrogated at the police station. The police discovered that Carl had called Galpin before he died, and after Galpin's death, they did not find his phone in the room. Considering Wednesday was present at both crime scenes, the police naturally grew suspicious of her. But Wednesday was stubborn. No matter how Sheriff Santiago questioned her, she refused to speak. Gomez soon arrived at the station, and as her lawyer, he bailed her out. Back in the dorm, she was shocked to see the window wide open and Enid lying in a pool of blood.
You might end up there sooner than you think.
I was just getting you back for that fake eyeball you left on my pillow.
What fake eyeball?
Wednesday quickly realized it must have been the strange crow that placed Galpin's eyes in the dorm. At that moment, Enid's phone beeped with a message. Since Wednesday had no phone, the mastermind sent the threat to Enid instead. When Wednesday asked her to call back, the other side played a recording of Galpin's voice. It was clear the phone the police never found was now in the hands of the killer. Wednesday went to ask Principal Dort if he knew anyone who could control birds. Professor Orloff, who was nearby, thought for a moment and told her that the one she was looking for was likely from the avian clan. But Nevermore Academy had not admitted any bird students for nearly 10 years. To clear her doubts, Wednesday decided to go to Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, where Tyler was being held. The director told her not to rush. Whether she could see Tyler had to be decided by Dr. Fairburn. Dr. Fairburn was the chief psychiatrist. She had published many books on the psychology of outcasts, but she herself was not one.
It's like a vegetarian writing a book on cannibalism. I've always been skeptical of psychiatrists.
Me too. Hello, Wednesday. I'm Dr. Fairburn.
Dr. Fairburn tried to turn Tyler back into a normal person, but he was controlling and uncooperative. Meanwhile, Thornhill, who was also locked in the asylum, refused to admit her connection with Tyler. Both were difficult cases, so Dr. Fairburn agreed to let Wednesday visit, hoping another approach might open Tyler's heart. Tyler was locked in a basement cell with a special shock collar around his neck. For safety, Wednesday could only speak to him through thick, bulletproof glass walls. Wednesday told Tyler that his father had been murdered in a cruel way, and he was not the first victim. He only laughed indifferently, unwilling to provide any clues. Seeing no answers here, Wednesday turned to leave, not wanting to waste time.
Say hi to Enid for me. Tell her I'm gonna kill her the next time I see her.
Make her pay for sticking her snout in my business.
I want her screams to haunt you for the rest of your life.
But Wednesday was never one to take insults silently. She shot back, mocking Tyler as nothing more than an irrelevant nobody. His only use was being Thornhill's pawn, turning into a monster to kill for his master. Her words completely enraged Tyler, but just as he was about to transform, security pressed the control button on the collar. The surging current made him scream in agony as he fell to his knees, and he could only howl to vent his rage. Enid took Bruno to the dorm for a tryst, and she accidentally found a package on the floor sent to Thing by Wednesday's uncle. Looking inside, she realized it was Thing's birthday today. She couldn't help but feel upset. How could Wednesday forget such an important day?
Oh my god, what happened? Are you?
When Wednesday returns to the dorm and rescues Thing, who was locked in the box room, she learns that Enid and Bruno have both been kidnapped. The mastermind even left her a message, ordering her to find Enid within 30 minutes, or Enid's life would be taken. A card was suddenly pushed through the door crack. Wednesday picked it up and saw it was only a string of meaningless letters. Meanwhile, Enid and Bruno woke up bound together, locked at the top of the tower, with a large number of sharp swords hanging above their heads. Wednesday searched the entire school for Enid, and on the way she met Isadora. Isadora invited her to join the orchestra and play cello, and also taught her that to become a master she must learn how to be controlled by music, otherwise she would only be playing dull notes. Isadora's words gave Wednesday sudden inspiration. The letters on the card were not words, but notes. She immediately rushed to the music room, played the keys in order, and a hidden door beside the piano opened. She followed the passage all the way to the tower and took the elevator to the very top. Enid and Bruno twisted their bodies trying to break free from the chains, but they fell together with the chairs. Looking up at the swords about to fall, fear surged through their hearts. Wednesday arrived just in time. She sent Thing to pick the lock on the chains, but Thing accidentally triggered the mechanism and was pinned by a falling sword, unable to move. The ceiling was slowly descending, pressing toward Enid and Bruno, bound on the floor. At this critical moment, Wednesday noticed a paper slip on a nearby typewriter. It read, "What didn't you see?" Around the typewriter were piles of books, each stack made of works by famous authors. The tip of the sword was aimed straight at Enid. At the last second, Wednesday typed the correct answer on the machine. The sword stopped abruptly right above Enid's eyes, then slowly lifted back up. Finally, Wednesday had the chance to save Thing pinned down by the sword. The invisible person turned out to be Agnes, Wednesday's #1 fan. She had placed the novel under the bonfire and carefully planned this twisted game only to get Wednesday's attention. When Wednesday asked Agnes why she killed Galpin, she said that was not her doing, but she was willing to help investigate together. Wednesday did not agree, but she did not refuse either because the invisible power was indeed very useful for solving cases. Seeing this, Agnes handed Galpin's phone to Wednesday as a gift of becoming close friends. Bianca still had to follow Principal Dort's order, handing the list of potential donors to Morticia and asking her to consider who might support the school. Among them, the person Principal Dort valued most was Wednesday's grandmother. Though wealthy, she and Morticia had a very tense relationship, so Morticia refused without hesitation. Bianca failed her task and had to face Principal Dort. Principal Dort told her that Frump was a highly successful entrepreneur. If she agreed to donate, everyone else on the list would follow her lead. But this matter was better handled by Morticia. If necessary, Bianca could use her siren song to mesmerize her. Bianca is initially unwilling and even tries to use her siren song to hypnotize Principal Dort into stopping his coercion. But Principal Dort had a pocket watch that resisted the siren song. He was unaffected. Left with no choice, Bianca returned to the gardener's cottage and used her song to hypnotize Morticia, pushing her to persuade her mother to attend the fundraiser and give the school a large donation.
You'll have no memory I was here. Good night.
Morticia also graduated from Nevermore Academy. She had seen countless storms. When she woke from the trance, a strong impulse pushed her to call her mother, but she forced that thought back down. Late at night, Wednesday returned to the dorm, ready to continue studying Goody's spellbook, but from Thing she learned that while she was at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, her mother had taken the book. She went to her mother to ask for the spellbook and confessed everything she had encountered during this time, including witnessing Enid's death. But after hearing it, her mother only grew more worried and refused to give the book back. The only clues Wednesday had now, aside from the eyes, were Galpin's phone. She asked Agnes if there was a way to unlock it. Agnes had a shapeshifter friend who was a woman. She could perfectly imitate Galpin's appearance and use his face to unlock the phone. Inside Galpin's phone was a recording. It was Carl's final call to him before death. It mentioned evidence hidden in a cabin on Pine Ridge Road number 2015. By chance, today the school was holding a camping trip, and that road was near the campsite. Even though Wednesday hated gatherings, this time she had no choice but to join the camping trip. Pugsley brought along a vampire coffin and pitched a tent early. When Eugene wondered why he was so diligent, he peeked inside the tent and realized he had brought zombies with him. It turned out Pugsley had used his power to revive the zombie that night, chained it in the school shed, and even gave it a name, Slurp. With his careful care, Slurp had even grown a brain again. But if he went on the camping trip, Slurp would be left unattended. So he brought Slurp along, setting rocket bottles outside the tent for an alarm in case it ran away. At night, while everyone gathered around the fire, Wednesday carried her backpack and walked alone down the path, quickly finding the cabin according to the photo. With her flashlight, she searched inside, noticing signs of the mirror being moved. She lifted the mirror and found an entire wall of obituaries, the earliest dating back 15 years, and all of them were patients from Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. All the clues pointed to a woman called Lois. Wednesday touched the photos on the wall, but still could not restart her psychic power. Now her only hope was Goody's spellbook. To save Enid's life, Wednesday even challenged Morticia to a family tradition of blindfolded fencing. If Wednesday won, Morticia would return the spellbook, but if she lost, Morticia could burn it herself. That night, a group of officers who wanted to drive out the outcasts sneaked into the campsite, and unfortunately, they chose Pugsley's tent. Just as the commander was about to slip inside, he tripped on the fuse of a bottled rocket, and when he looked up, Slurp's abyss-like mouth was already aimed at him. The remaining officers fled in panic. The sound of fireworks exploding covered their screams. When Pugsley noticed something wrong and rushed back to the tent, Slurp had already disappeared. Only the officer's corpse lay bloody on the ground. Wednesday and Morticia chose a spot in the woods for their duel. They placed the glass hearts on their left chests. Whoever pierced the glass first would win. The two swords sparked in the night sky. Mother and daughter blindfolded, relying on sound to locate each other. Wednesday gave it her all, but still could not match the battle-hardened Morticia. After a few rounds, with the slightest carelessness, the glass heart on her chest was pierced and shattered by Morticia's sword. At that moment, Slurp came through the woods with an axe, ready to ambush Morticia. The camping trip was ultimately interrupted by the officer's death. The police arrived and put Slurp in restraints, preparing to send him to Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. The strange crow perched nearby stared at Wednesday for a while, then flew up to land on the shoulder of a hooded figure. But Wednesday's powers were already depleted. She truly did not know what else she could do. She pinned her hopes on those obituaries. Why did Galpin and Carl record the deaths of outcasts? Who was this mysterious person called Lois? And could she be tied to Enid's death? At dawn inside Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, Thornhill was escorted by guards to the office. Dr. Fairburn wanted her to join Tyler's rehabilitation, but she made one condition. She had to see Tyler first. Dr. Fairburn led Thornhill to the basement ward. She spoke with guilt, confessing her longing. But Tyler had no affection for her, only hatred in his eyes. His temper flared, he transformed instantly and grabbed Thornhill's throat. With her grandmother's help, Wednesday took the ashes of outcasts from the cemetery. Records showed they were all cremated here. She told her grandmother everything that had happened and complained angrily that Morticia had taken the spellbook. After venting, she said she wanted to investigate their deaths, but when she smelled the urns, she realized they were filled with animal ashes. The mastermind had finally begun to act, which meant Wednesday was getting closer to the truth. She asked her grandmother to buy the graveyard, to investigate who had signed the death certificates of the outcasts, then returned to school heavy with worry. She could not figure out how all of this connected to Enid, or how to save her life. All the answers pointed to one place, Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. And in the Addams family, the one most familiar with asylums was Wednesday's Uncle Fester. Agnes helped retrieve the asylum's blueprints. Wednesday told her uncle that he must find the person named Lois. So her uncle put on an expert performance. He checked into a small-town motel under the fake name Mr. Devil, and even settled the bill with a bag full of contaminated cash. Then, he intentionally creates earthquake-like noises upstairs, scaring the front desk into calling the police. When the police rushed in to arrest him, he was soaking in the bathtub. From his body, they found 18 passports and 33 driver's licenses. Uncle Fester did not explain. He picked up a cactus on the table and chewed it with delight. This series of actions quickly had him diagnosed as an extreme mental case. Just like that, he entered Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital without effort. Meanwhile, Wednesday discovered that her aunt had once been sent to Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital for treatment. She asked Morticia why. This time, Morticia finally admitted it. In her senior year, Ophelia suddenly went mad screaming. Black tears ran from her eyes, and she was judged to have overused her psychic power. Their grandmother wasted no time sending Ophelia to Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. Morticia begged for a long time, but her grandmother ignored her. That was one of the reasons mother and daughter had always been at odds.
Old memories are like old corpses. They never quite seem the same when you dig them up.
Mama.
Her grandmother came in person, handed Wednesday the deed to the cemetery, and told her that the one signing the death certificates was a man named Augustus. When Wednesday left, her grandmother admitted she knew the school wanted Morticia to persuade her to donate. She could agree, but only if Morticia returned the spellbook to Wednesday.
My family's not negotiable.
Inside Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, Uncle Fester kept searching for Lois, until by chance he noticed the cook's badge printed with the name Lois. Their eyes met and sparks flew. With a glance, the woman understood and slipped into the storeroom next door. But when he followed and wiped the dirt from the badge, he saw the woman's name was Louise. Agnes discovered that Augustus was not only a psychiatrist at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, but also a science teacher at Nevermore Academy. After he went insane, he was locked in the asylum as a patient. Wednesday had Thing deliver a message to her uncle to find Augustus first. No sooner had the words been spoken than hundreds of crows descended on the schoolyard. The hooded figure controlled them to attack Wednesday and Enid. Chaos broke out until Principal Dort drove the crows away with his fire powers. The lead crow targeted Thing, carrying him high into the sky. Wednesday spotted the hooded figure trying to escape and sprinted after them. But when she reached the staircase to the second floor, the figure was gone. Only a black cloak remained on the ground. Wednesday continued further inside, only to find Dr. Fairburn, who should have been at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, inexplicably at the school. She explained she had come to invite Isadora to teach music therapy at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. Just then, Isadora entered with tea, trying hard to act calm, but Wednesday noticed she was short of breath as she spoke. To investigate whether Isadora was the mastermind, Wednesday decided to accept her invitation to join the orchestra. As she left, she noticed that Isadora kept many birds. Following Wednesday's instructions, Thing secretly hitched a ride in Dr. Fairburn's car into the asylum and passed Augustus's name to her uncle. Uncle Fester easily found Augustus. Augustus locked himself in a giant birdcage, spending all his time with birds. Among them was a parrot with a mouth full of curses, which stayed by his side all the time.
I find Lois. 51971, 51971.
Uncle Fester pushed Augustus's wheelchair back to his ward, crossing paths with Thornhill on the way. When they passed by an iron door, the silent Augustus suddenly spoke, shouting, "Lois!" It was clear that this was where the truth Uncle Fester was looking for was hidden, but Thornhill recognized Uncle Fester and reported it to Dr. Fairburn, suspecting that he and Wednesday were plotting something inside Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. After hearing this, Dr. Fairburn immediately brings security, captures Uncle Fester as he is about to enter the code to open the iron gate, and locks him in the same cell as Slurp. Thing saw it all and hurried back to the school to tell Wednesday. Tonight, Isadora was scheduled to teach music therapy at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, the perfect chance for a rescue. Thing teamed up with Louise. Wednesday first hid in the trunk of Isadora's car. Agnes went invisible and slipped into the asylum's security room beforehand. When security went to check the trunk, she ignited explosives in the bathroom. Amid the chaos, Wednesday slipped out of the trunk, crouched beside the car, and quickly moved inside, then under Louise's cover hid in a food cart, rescuing her uncle from the cell. But as they left, none of them noticed that Slurp had broken free of his chains. He attacked the guards escorting Thornhill, and Thornhill escaped in the confusion, brushing past Wednesday. But Wednesday had no time to care. She and her uncle reached the iron door and entered the numbers spoken by the parrot. Inside looked like a normal storeroom, but drag marks on the floor led Wednesday to a hidden cabinet door. Behind the cabinet lay a deep tunnel, carved with the full name of LOIS, Long-Term Outcast Integration Study. Lois was not a person, but an entire research project. They followed the stairs down and found multiple locked cells, all holding outcasts who were supposed to be dead in the obituaries. Their deaths had been faked, so they could be imprisoned here as live test subjects. A crow's cry rang out, Wednesday, and her uncle followed the strange bird to find the hooded figure. She turned out to be the hospital director Spanigle, and she was also Augustus's daughter. Years ago, Augustus used outcasts for experiments, stealing their powers and giving them to ordinary people, and Spanigle's ability to control birds came from Augustus's experiments. After Augustus lost his mind, Spanigle took over and continued the research. Wednesday distracted Spanigle, while her uncle built up a surge of electricity in his hands. The asylum's power system completely collapsed. In emergency mode, the cell doors all opened, and the enraged patients rushed Spanigle, releasing years of torment and hatred. Wednesday refused to leave. She wanted to first free the mysterious woman from the cell. But above ground was no safer. Thornhill took a key from a wounded guard and freed Tyler from the basement ward. Yet, Tyler knew clearly, everything he had become was Thornhill's fault. With no collar to restrain him, he transformed into a powerful monster, and Thornhill barely ran a few seconds before Tyler pierced her heart. His next target was Wednesday, who had caused him to be locked away. Wednesday covered the mysterious woman's escape. Tyler charged straight at her, his eyes burning with hatred. Police cars roared in, but ordinary bullets could not pierce the monster's tough skin. Tyler killed the officers who blocked him and vanished into the forest. Thing crawled anxiously to Wednesday, and in the pouring rain, her life was slipping away. Who was truly trying to kill Enid? Would Wednesday's prophecy come true? And what new disaster would follow now that Tyler had escaped? Let us look forward to the next thrilling chapter. The grand finale of Wednesday Season 2 has finally arrived, and this time, not only do we get a glimpse of Lady Gaga, but we even witness another side of Wednesday. Together with Uncle Fester, Wednesday sabotages the power system of Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital to punish Director Spanigle for locking up outcasts and using them for experiments. She rescues a mysterious woman trapped in the basement, while Tyler, also freed, transforms back into the Hyde monster. Tyler first exacts revenge on Thornhill, the one who once controlled him, and then throws Wednesday down from the hospital's second floor. Although Wednesday's rushed to a hospital just in time, she remains in a coma for many days. Her parents leave her room in sorrow, but the moment they turn away, Wednesday suddenly opens her eyes. To her shock, the once dead Principal Weems miraculously appears before her. When Wednesday pushes open the hospital room door, she realizes she has not truly awakened, but instead has entered another dimension of the spirit world. Weems clears her doubts, explaining that Goody, her former spirit guide, had sacrificed herself to save Wednesday, and now Weems has become her new spirit guide. Her sudden loss of psychic abilities, Weems explains, is closely tied to her own identity, and the truth is something Wednesday must uncover on her own. Spanigle tells the outside world that the hospital had recently suffered a catastrophic power failure. After a thorough police investigation, 43 escaped patients are recaptured. Sheriff Santiago then steps up and announces 3 additional fugitives, Uncle Fester, Slurp, and Tyler, who has fled as the Hyde monster. But Spanigle lies about the true number of patients. She secretly sends assassins after those who bore marks of her experiments, attempting to erase all evidence of her crimes. The only one unaccounted for is patient 1938, the very mysterious woman Wednesday rescued, whose whereabouts remain unknown. Upon hearing that Wednesday has awakened, Spanigle pretends to care, bringing Lilies to visit her at the hospital. The underground lab has already been cleared of all files, so even if Wednesday reports it to the police and leads them to search, Spanigle has nothing to fear.
Who's patient 1938? Why didn't she get a fake obituary? What makes her so special?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Seems like all your secrets aren't dead and buried.
As Wednesday steps out of her room, a nurse hands her a bouquet of flowers. She looks in the direction the nurse points, only to see her nemesis Tyler standing there. But by the time she rushes after him, Tyler has already fled at full speed, leaving no trace behind. Meanwhile, Bianca, with Ajax's help, hides her mother inside the Academy's secret chamber. She told Ajax that the leader of the massive scam organization, Morning Song, was her father, who often used the siren's ability to sway people's minds and commit unlawful deeds. To free her mother from her father's control, she had no choice but to resort to such desperate measures. Ajax promises her he will keep this secret safe. When Wednesday returns to her dorm, Enid greets her with warmth.
What are you doing here?
But Wednesday has no time to explain, telling Enid to quickly pack up and go home to avoid being targeted by Tyler. Though Enid had once transformed under the full moon and managed to fight off Tyler in his Hyde form, she had the help of Galpin at that time. Wednesday's words are cold, yet beneath them lies a concern even she does not notice. Enid, however, misunderstands, believing Wednesday is saying she is not strong enough. Hurt and upset, she turns and leaves. Tyler declares that both Enid and Wednesday will die tonight, and tonight just happens to be Wednesday's favorite day, the Day of the Dead. Principal Dort plans to hold a grand celebration tonight, but Wednesday advises him to abandon the idea, warning that the Hyde will strike at any moment, and innocent lives could be lost. Principal Dort refuses, insisting that one Hyde monster cannot possibly stand against an entire academy of outcasts. He also reveals to Wednesday that Isadora once had a history with a Hyde.
You aren't alone in this anymore, Wednesday.
At that very moment, Tyler, wounded by police during his escape, hides in the sewers to recover. A hired killer notices footprints outside, thinking they belong to patient 1938, the one Spanigle wants. With flashlight in hand, he carefully steps into the sewer, firing his gun the moment he hears movement. But when he goes to check, he finds it is just a dummy. Drawn by the thick scent of blood, Slurp sneaks in and feasts. When he picks up a photo the killer dropped into the water and sees the familiar face of patient 1938, a flicker of softness crosses his otherwise cold eyes. Meanwhile, Wednesday learns that Isadora's ex-boyfriend had once turned into a Hyde and attacked her. Isadora admits that every Hyde has a master, and her ex was no exception. His master ordered him to kill her. Fortunately, under the full moon, Isadora was able to survive as a werewolf. But in that fight, her ex accidentally killed his own master. Yet without a master, a Hyde usually cannot survive for long.
Has a Hyde ever taken on a new master?
I mean, not that I know of. Who would be reckless enough to try? I strongly recommend that you don't entertain the idea.
Of course not. That would be insane.
Bruno agrees with Wednesday that Enid was simply lucky to have transformed successfully that night and narrowly survived, and she absolutely cannot face Tyler on her own. But his words make Enid realize something. If she is not strong enough, then how could Wednesday possibly fight Tyler alone? So she asks Thing to deliver a letter to the Nightshades, calling for an emergency meeting. And all of this was seen by Agnes. She rushed to the dormitory to find Wednesday. Seeing that Wednesday had no intention of paying attention to her, she directly revealed Enid's plan. By nightfall, the members of the Nightshades gathered together, and Wednesday arrived as well.
I think Tyler's making his move tonight at the Remembrance procession. But I have a plan.
To kill him?
To control him.
From Thornhill's notes, Wednesday discovered a formula that could control the Hyde monster, so she and Thing hurried to prepare the potion. But Weems knew how dangerous this method was because Wednesday had to get close enough to Tyler and inject the potion into his body with a syringe. Weems also pointed out a fatal flaw. Thornhill could control Tyler because she was methodical and emotionally detached. But Wednesday was different. She had feelings for Tyler.
I hate Tyler.
Gomez accompanied Pugsley to tonight's Fright Night event, while Slurp stumbled in, drawn by the scent of people. No one realized how dangerous he was. They thought his makeup was simply too realistic, until he got into a dispute with a passerby inside the haunted house, and without the slightest hesitation, he grabbed the man by the collar, ready to feast. The crowd panicked and fled, and Pugsley heard from someone that there was a man-eating zombie hidden inside the haunted house. Ignoring his father's attempts to stop him, he rushed inside, only to be shocked when he discovered that the zombie he had once fed brains to had actually grown its own brain, could speak, and was becoming more and more human. Pugsley had never had a friend before. In his heart, Slurp was his only friend. So when he learned the police had surrounded the event, he immediately helped Slurp escape without hesitation. Gomez locked eyes with the fleeing Slurp, strangely feeling that the figure looked so familiar.
No one else is in there.
Morticia's room welcomed an uninvited guest, the mysterious woman whom Wednesday had rescued from Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. Morticia recognized her instantly as an old acquaintance, someone she had even attended a funeral for. The woman explained that Augustus had faked her death. She had been locked in the hospital for experiments all along, and it was Wednesday who saved her. But her reappearance would bring a deadly crisis to the Addams family.
I could really use your help finding my son.
You mean Tyler?
The Day of the Dead celebration was about to begin, and Tyler slipped into the crowd, unaware he was about to fall into Wednesday's trap. Thing led Tyler to Enid, who acted as bait to lure him into an abandoned house. The Nightshades revealed themselves one by one, provoking Tyler to transform into the Hyde. Wednesday seized the chance and picked up the syringe, but Tyler noticed and struck her down with one blow. He then backhanded Ajax, knocking him aside just as he tried to remove his hat. Seeing Tyler spiral out of control, Wednesday changed her tone, softly admitting that she had once been drawn to him. But now there was only one way for them to truly be together.
We had a deal.
It turned out Francoise also carried a Hyde within her, and Wednesday had been the one to rescue her from the hospital. She promised Morticia she would take control of Tyler and leave with him, but could her words really be trusted? Tyler was finally reunited with his mother. Wednesday returned to writing her unfinished novel. Thing produced the cherished ring he held dear, still unable to find answers about his own origins. Gomez told Morticia that he had seen the zombie, and it was their old acquaintance Isaac. Meanwhile, Slurp had already slipped into Spanagle's home.
Hello, Judy. Do you remember me?
In the music room, Enid suddenly collapsed, feeling uncontrollable power surging within her, about to transform into a werewolf. When Isadora entered, all she saw was shredded clothing scattered across the floor and Enid's figure hastily fleeing. Within such a short time, another Hyde appeared, and Principal Dort decided to enforce a strict curfew over the academy to prevent casualties. Obsessed with uncovering the truth about the Hydes, Wednesday sought out Orloff to ask if he knew Francoise. She then learned that Francoise and her brother Isaac had once been students of Nevermore Academy, and that Isaac had created many inventions during his life, including Orloff's life support system. Augustus had been Isaac's mentor and even built him a secret laboratory in the tower, until one night, the laboratory exploded. No one found Isaac's body, but later there were rumors that he was buried under the skeleton tree. That's right, Isaac was the boy with the clockwork heart, the very zombie that Pugsley had kept. Francoise and Tyler hid inside the secret basement built by her late husband, right beside their home and well concealed. Fearing Tyler might lose control and unleash the Hyde, she shackled him with foot irons, even planning to become his new master. Though Enid returned to human form, she sensed her powers slipping further from her control. Isadora arrived and explained that transforming into a werewolf without the full moon meant she might be an alpha, the strongest and rarest among her kind. Many legends claimed that alpha werewolves lived in loneliness and were hunted by their own pack for never being able to turn human again. But Isadora told her not to worry. As long as she could control it, it was nothing to fear. Wednesday then sought out her grandmother, hoping she could help restore her psychic abilities. Although her grandmother had ceased using them after her aunt went missing, they were both crows, so she should know how to regain such powers. Her grandmother explained that the academy once had a Professor Rotwood, a legendary crow with extraordinary psychic strength. After her death, she was buried in the academy cemetery, and her tombstone absorbed her dark power. If one recited the inscription engraved upon it, they could temporarily regain psychic abilities. The best time to visit the cemetery was at night, at least for Wednesday. Enid reminded her that the academy was under curfew, and if caught sneaking out, their whole dorm would lose the right to attend the fundraising gala. Enid had spent weeks preparing her dance for the gala and didn't want to let her hard work go to waste. But Wednesday was determined, because only by continuing could she stop the death of Enid she had foreseen in her visions. She ignored everything and went to the cemetery, where she found Rotwood's tombstone, saturated with dark power. When she read aloud the epitaph carved upon it, she was pulled into Rotwood's world. Wednesday asked Rotwood to restore her psychic ability, but Rotwood countered by asking her what she was willing to endure in order to uncover the truth. Before Wednesday could answer, Rotwood told her to place her hand over the flame and hold it still, accepting the raven's gaze to regain her power. But if she pulled her hand away, there would be a price to pay. Wednesday remained calm, enduring the searing pain of the flames, and she could feel the psychic energy flowing back into her. But Enid learned from Thing that the dorm inspection was about to begin. Without hesitation, she rushed to the school cemetery and pulled Wednesday out of Rotwood's world. And wasn't that the price? They exchanged a glance, then both collapsed to the ground. This must have been the most hopeless day for Wednesday, because when she woke up, she found herself covered in the one color she hated most, pink.
What the hell happened to me?
Weems told Wednesday this was the result of interrupting the crow ritual. Until they could switch their bodies back, they would have to endure living in the forms they disliked.
Obviously, it's me. Keep up.
Although Enid hated the thought of others finding out, staying locked in the dorm would never reveal the way to reverse the change. She followed Wednesday closely, reminding her over and over to stay away from Bruno, so her image wouldn't be ruined.
We're here. Saved you a seat. Enid!
Coming, guys!
Agnes stuck close to Wednesday as usual, and when she saw Enid buy a rainbow-colored coffee, she asked in confusion, wasn't she supposed to be allergic to colors? Enid tried her best to imitate Wednesday's cold demeanor, but to her shock, after drinking the coffee, she really did break out in a rash. Fortunately, she ran into Morticia soon after, and after applying some ointment, she returned to normal. Morticia reminded Enid to remember to take her mushroom pills to suppress her allergy, and even invited her to join the family gathering that night, having already arranged her leave of absence with the principal. Meanwhile, Wednesday returned to the academy cemetery, but when she placed her hand on Rotwood's tombstone, there was no reaction at all. Weems told her that 2 crows had previously attempted such reckless acts, and both had died within 24 hours. Isaac was gradually regaining the appearance of a normal person, and while hiding in Galpin's home, he accidentally noticed something strange about the doghouse in the yard. He pulled aside the grass covering it and found that it was actually a hidden door leading to the basement. Francoise heard the knocking and quickly grabbed the gun from the table, her face filled with suspicion as she aimed at the door. When she saw that the visitor was her supposedly dead brother, she was shocked and overjoyed, the feeling of regaining family overshadowing her fear. Francoise had been coughing up blood these days, and as a Hyde, she had already lived longer than most, but now her time was almost up. Isaac had once tried to kill the monster inside her but failed, and after his death, Augustus stole all of his work. The machine that could destroy the inner monster was now kept inside Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital. He still wanted to take Francoise there to try again. Wednesday saw a photo of Rotwood in the music room, and the house behind her was the place where she once taught, which was now being used as Morticia's temporary home. She slipped inside quietly, easily found the hidden mechanism, and discovered the summoning chamber Rotwood had designed. She felt that the strange sculpture inside the room was calling out to her.
Tell me how I can break this curse.
To reclaim your own flesh, you must be willing to die in this borrowed skin. You have until dawn to unravel the innermost secrets of the life you've stepped into.
Enid was fretting about the Addams family dinner that evening, while Thing had to attend a support meeting and couldn't accompany her. So she decided to look for information about the Addams family. And the first thing she thought of was reading Wednesday's novel. But to her shock, she discovered the character based on her was written as a weak, sickly failure with terrible character, making her so angry she threw the mushroom pills back into the drawer. Then, using Wednesday's body, she launched a shocking attack. Because she hadn't taken the mushroom pills, the body she was inhabiting broke out in rashes again, worse than before. Enid collapsed on the ground in despair, and Wednesday watched everything she had done. Burning with anger, she turned and walked away. Just then, she ran into Bruno, who was on the phone, and his words were filled with sweetness and romance. She then realized Bruno already had a girlfriend back home, hiding the truth and stringing Enid along.
We're done.
Just then, Isadora arrived, urging Wednesday to quickly enter the iron werewolf cage to suppress her alpha powers. And this whole drama was witnessed by Agnes, who had no idea about their body swap, and she hurried back to the dorm to tell Enid about the werewolf cage and Bruno being dumped. She even repeated the vision from Wednesday's psychic ability that foretold Enid's death. Enid was furious at Wednesday's secrecy, while Agnes thought this was the perfect chance to break them apart. She sycophantically said that Enid was terribly cliché, and that she should take this chance to cut ties and become her best friend instead.
You don't know anything about me. You're just a sycophantic loser that I use from time to time when it's convenient. But we're not friends. I don't even like you. In fact, I wish you would just stay invisible. Forever!
The rejected Agnes also attended the disability support group. Although she wasn't physically disabled, always being invisible and overlooked made her spiritually incomplete in a way. Thing also regretfully told the group that not only did he lack a body, he also had no memory of where he came from. When the Addams family had first discovered him, the only clue to his past was a silver ring. Orloff said that they might never know which body they had originally belonged to, but now they should not see themselves as mere attachments. They should see themselves as complete beings worthy of love and respect. Sometimes a single part can be stronger than the whole. If Enid had the chance to choose again, she would rather die than come to this family dinner. She held a dish in her trembling hands. Inside was a possum's head, along with the Addams family's leftovers, a dead raccoon, and to top it off, the coffin's scent Wednesday liked. After Gomez and Pugsley left the table, Morticia sensed the wandering spirit nearby and forced it to reveal itself.
Still as insufferably bossy as you were at 10th grade.
Larissa. Who's Larissa?
Weems told Morticia that she was now Wednesday's new spirit guide. The Wednesday in front of Morticia could not sense her presence, because beneath that body was Enid. Enid and Wednesday had to resolve this before dawn, otherwise it would all be too late, and they had to rely only on their own strength. No one else could help. Meanwhile, Isaac slipped back into the academy to find Orloff. The life support device Orloff used had been made for him by Isaac while he was still alive. Orloff immediately realized that Isaac harbored ill intent, and he slowly backed away until he was forced against the edge of the lab table, with no way left to retreat. Isaac ignored Orloff's pleas, took away the power source of the device, and then devoured his brain. Agnes had intended to thank Orloff for his inspiring speech, but she came across this horrifying scene. She screamed and turned invisible, not daring to reappear until Isaac had left. She secretly followed Isaac, hiding in the trunk of his car, but there she discovered Spanigel's corpse. Enid opened the werewolf cage to free Wednesday, and Agnes, fighting her fear, called to tell them everything that had just happened. Isaac restored power to the hospital, carefully laying his sister flat and preparing to operate the device. But Tyler caught the scent of a living person at that very moment. By the time Wednesday and Enid arrived, Isaac had already activated the machine, attempting to purge the hide inside Francoise. Wednesday sneaked into the cell to unlock Agnes, but Tyler had already guessed her plan.
Don't forget about
There's no full moon to save you.
Wednesday could no longer suppress the werewolf force inside the body she carried, and she gradually transformed into an alpha werewolf. Just as Tyler charged in to interfere, Agnes turned invisible and switched the machine to its maximum setting, drawing Tyler's attention away. At that moment, the werewolf Wednesday shattered the prison door. The machine overloaded and completely broke down, and just before it exploded, both groups managed to escape. That brutal battle made Enid realize that Wednesday had always been protecting her, always saving her. And Wednesday discovered that Enid was not as weak as she thought, for the werewolf power inside her was so great that even Wednesday herself could not bear it. They reconciled, becoming the best of friends once again. Together, they placed their hands on Rotwood's tombstone, and before dawn, they returned to their rightful bodies. But things were far from settled, because after Enid left, Weems appeared and told Wednesday an even harsher truth. The prophecy of Enid's death had been broken, but her actions would put another life in danger.
Follow me.
Principal Dort found the hiding place of Bianca's mother, and Gabrielle's face changed instantly when she saw him. It turned out that Principal Dort was the founder of the Morning Song organization. He persuaded Bianca's father to join, helped him become the head of the group, and then tricked the sirens into using their powers to sway people and amass great wealth. He should have been rolling in money, but because of the damage caused by Bianca and her mother, his assets suffered severe losses. So he planned to exploit Bianca's power to trick Wednesday's grandmother into donating a large sum of money to recover.
It's time to get back to work, ladies.
Bruno tried to explain himself to Enid, saying that though he had a long-time girlfriend back home, after meeting her, he realized who he truly loved, and that last night he had broken up with his girlfriend. Before Enid could respond, Isadora called her away. Isadora told her seriously that in 2 days the full moon would arrive, and if she transformed into an alpha again, there was a high chance she would never turn back into human form. So before every sunset, she must take preventive measures and lock herself inside the werewolf cage. Francoise's condition was worsening, and the medicine that had been easing her symptoms was gone. Isaac, desperate to save his sister, risked everything and brought them back to the surface to seek another way. No sooner had they left than Wednesday and Thing arrived in pursuit. Weems, as her spirit guide, of course, followed as well. Thing crawled through the dog hole to warn them, saying he had found a hidden passage to the basement in the yard. Wednesday walked in cautiously with a stun weapon in hand, but the room was already empty, leaving only discarded medicine bottles and a blood-stained handkerchief. Just then, a butterfly landed on Thing's finger. Wednesday brought the butterfly to Eugene, and with his knowledge of all creatures, he identified it as a New Zealand corpse moth. When Pugsley had first captured the zombie, its body was covered in corpse moth larvae, and the strange thing about this moth was that it had to return to its host to lay eggs, which meant it could track its host to the ends of the earth. Wednesday returned to her dorm, shocked to find that her grandmother had come to the academy. It turned out that last night, Principal Dort had offered her an outrageous price, begging her to attend the fundraising gala. And just like Wednesday, her grandmother had peculiar tastes. She loved to watch the moment when someone broke down after being rejected. So she came to the academy to meet Principal Dort in person. Principal Dort told her that with her donation, he planned to build a new Academy of Funeral Sciences next to the tower, and when that day came, Death, Nevermore Academy, and her would form the most wicked trinity. Grandmama Frump had been waiting for this chance, and she immediately mocked Principal Dort with the cruelest words, bluntly rejecting his request for a donation. But Principal Dort had already foreseen this moment, and he called on Bianca to use her siren powers against her.
You will leave your entire fortune to Nevermore. That is your legacy. You will present this decision to your family and the world without raising suspicion. You will attend the gala as the guest of honor. And once I snap my fingers, you won't remember I was ever here.
Enid locked herself inside the werewolf cage, but Isadora made an exception, allowing her to finish her dance at the fundraising gala before returning to the cage. At least this way, she could think about something joyful, and calming down might help her suppress the werewolf power. She told Wednesday that the wolf pack would give her strength.
But the truth is, you are my pack, Wednesday. If I wolfed out and couldn't, change back, would you come and find me?
I have no problem hunting you down.
Ajax told Bianca that the news claimed the leader of Morning Song was approaching Nevermore Academy. He went to check the secret chamber and realized Bianca's mother had already disappeared. Bianca stammered and failed to give a clear answer. Principal Dort, afraid she might expose his plans, found an excuse to send her away. But Ajax sensed something was wrong, and he told Wednesday and Enid that Bianca might be in trouble, and Principal Dort might be involved. The next day, Principal Dort gathered the Addams family and had the grandmother announce that she would donate her entire fortune, and they agreed that no outcasts without powers would be admitted. People like Gomez, for example.
Let's just celebrate the fact that Nevermore's future is secure. Group selfie?
Wednesday knew that such a donation didn't fit her grandmother's style, and remembering what Ajax had said, she realized Principal Dort was manipulating Bianca. She found Bianca practicing fencing and tried to make her confess.
I don't know what
Defeated, Bianca admitted that Principal Dort was the mastermind, that he had lied to everyone from the beginning, and that he planned to steal her grandmother's wealth and vanish.
I'm sorry, but I had no choice, and I still don't. You won't remember this conversation or anything you know about my mother. Nothing about the gala is suspicious to you. Let it go.
But Bianca never expected that Wednesday had brought Agnes along, and Agnes repeated every word of their conversation back to Wednesday. The fundraising gala was held as scheduled, with all the students' parents in attendance, and the grandmother, the center of everyone's attention, sat on a small boat. Morticia couldn't help but frown at the sight. Wednesday, as usual, ignored the gathering and instead struck a deal with Bianca, telling her that if she no longer wanted to help the enemy, she must reveal where her mother was being held.
In his apartment.
Enid was scheduled to perform a dance that night, and her partner was supposed to be Bruno, but his girlfriend, after receiving the breakup news, flew to the academy. Enid didn't want to play the villain in the story, so she chose to withdraw. Agnes stepped in as her new partner, sometimes visible and sometimes invisible, and the audience thought it was part of the choreography. While invisible, Agnes helped Wednesday steal the pocket watch from Principal Dort, the one that protected him from siren powers. Ajax also rescued Bianca's mother from the apartment. After Enid's dance ended, Bianca took the stage to host the gala. No longer under Principal Dort's threat, she seized the moment when he stepped onto the stage and unleashed her siren power against him.
Please tell everyone exactly how this gala came together.
Principal Dort confessed how he had used Bianca and how he had tricked Wednesday's grandmother. When he finally snapped out of his incoherent state, he tried to kidnap Bianca to threaten everyone into backing away. The police, having received the tip, surrounded the event venue, just as Principal Dort was about to burn through the rope of the crystal chandelier. But the real crisis was far from over, as Eugene sensed through the corpse moths that Isaac had already arrived. At the same time, the Addams family realized that Pugsley was missing. He was alone in the Academy cemetery, watching Isaac fully restored to human form and feeling genuine happiness for him. But Isaac didn't really see him as a friend. The police searched the cemetery and the surrounding area, but couldn't find any trace of Pugsley. At this point, Wednesday, and her mother had no choice but to rely on her grandmother's psychic ability. And of course, it was the part Wednesday hated most, physical contact, as she reluctantly placed her hand in her mother's, borrowing the power of both elders to regain her supernatural ability.
No one will ever know we were here.
What she saw was the scene of young Gomez and Morticia burying Isaac. At this point, there was no need to hide it any longer, and Morticia admitted that Isaac had built a machine in the tower to heal his sister, a device that could remove the hide inside her, but the machine required enormous energy. And back then, Gomez had powers, brimming with the same electricity Pugsley now carried. So Isaac sweet-talked Gomez into helping him, but in truth it was only to drain all of Gomez's electricity, which of course would also put his life in danger. Isaac had even dug a grave beneath the skull tree for Gomez. When Morticia finally arrived and destroyed the machine, the tower erupted in a massive explosion. That experiment caused Gomez to lose his powers forever and led to Isaac's death. Later, Gomez and Morticia buried Isaac beneath the skull tree in the grave that had been dug for Gomez. Eugene rushed to find Wednesday, saying he had just seen Isaac at the beehives and that Isaac had given him a black box to deliver to her. Inside was a crystal ball shaped like the skeleton tree, with a time written at the bottom, midnight. Wednesday went to the skeleton tree at the appointed time, while Thing set up a crossbow on the trunk, quietly waiting for Wednesday to distract Isaac.
Dear mother.
But Isaac had already predicted Wednesday's move, and had the hides ambush and capture thing, and his next words left everyone stunned.
Except he's never been yours. He's mine.
In fact, when Morticia broke into the tower years ago, she cut off Isaac's right hand, which caused the machine to malfunction and explode. The power surge gave his hand life, and afterward the Addams family took it in. Now that Isaac had reclaimed his right hand, he possessed even greater power, and he used his abilities to bury Wednesday deep within the grave beneath the skull tree. And witnessing Wednesday in such a plight, Tyler's eyes revealed a trace of reluctance. The true turning point came from Agnes, who told Enid, still locked inside the iron cage, what had happened, and without hesitation they ran to the skull tree. But with their limited strength, they simply couldn't dig out Wednesday, who was buried deep underground. Tonight was the night of the full moon, and as Enid gazed at the clouds drifting apart, she no longer cared about anything else.
You won't be able to turn back. You're an alpha. I can't let her die.
The clouds cleared, and the eerie full moon hung high in the sky. They finally pulled Wednesday from the grave, but Enid could no longer return to human form.
Please.
Gomez and Morticia arrived under Weems' guidance. Meanwhile, Isaac and the others reached the tower, where he used his powers to restore the abandoned facilities. The Addams family arrived as well, and Morticia told Wednesday that Thing never carried Isaac's memories, only the remnants of his kindness. That was why they had taken him in, hiding the truth, so that he would not bear an unnecessary burden. Isaac restarted the machine, and Tyler tied Pugsley to a chair, preparing to drain his electricity.
It's time, Isaac.
But something unexpected happened. Isaac used his powers to firmly bind Tyler. It turned out that Francoise's true goal was to eliminate the hide within Tyler, allowing him to live a normal life. The device to destroy the hide was activated, and both Tyler and Pugsley suffered immense pain. Francoise and Isaac split up to stop intruders, but neither noticed that Wednesday had slipped behind them. Tyler regained his freedom and immediately transformed into a hide, hurling Isaac down from the tower. Francoise rushed forward to check on her brother's condition, but Tyler's mind was now fully controlled by the hide, and he was filled only with resentment toward Francoise for trying to erase him, with no regard for their bond as mother and son. Francoise awakened the hide inside her as well, and the two monsters clashed in a brutal fight. During their infighting, Wednesday rescued her brother and destroyed the machine. Isaac frantically rushed forward to inspect the broken device, while Wednesday slowly closed in on him.
Isaac! You have something that belongs to me.
The hide mother and son accidentally slipped from the roof. Tyler instinctively reached out to save his mother, but she had already had enough of this tortured life, and she no longer wanted to bear the cost of turning into a monster at any moment. Tyler could only stare at her fallen body, releasing a howl of anguish to the night sky. The Addams family survived the explosion, but Isaac still refused to let them go. As he was about to snap Wednesday's neck, Morticia suddenly called out Thing's name. Do you remember Orloff's words, "A part can be stronger than the whole"? Thing seemed to hear the call, and after all the years they had spent together, he had become true family. How could he ever harm his own? With all his might, Thing ripped out Isaac's clockwork heart. After leaving its main body, the cold machine let out one final tick before turning into a pile of scrap metal, and Thing struggled to crawl toward the Addams family, breaking free from the loathsome body and returning to the family where he truly belonged.
Welcome back.
It seemed as if everything was finally over. After learning about his evil origins, Thing chose to discard the silver ring symbolizing his identity, letting go of the past and starting anew. Agnes discovered Enid's trail. She was fleeing north and would soon cross into Canada, and the only one who could help, Isadora, had quietly left the academy. She found Tyler and told him of a support system built for hides, a place where hides without masters lived, and she suggested they set out together. Wednesday called her uncle to pick her up from the academy, ready to head north in search of Enid. A new journey was about to begin. As Wednesday gently stroked the diary left behind by her aunt, she suddenly regained her psychic abilities. No one knew that hidden inside Grandmama's home was a secret underground base, and in a locked room, the one imprisoned there was the long-missing Ophelia. but unanswered questions hovered like vultures. Why did Isadora take Tyler? Was she trying to become his new master? Or was there a deeper plan? Would Enid never return to her human form? And why did Grandmama Frump imprison Ophelia in the underground chamber? All of these questions await answers in Season 3 of Wednesday.
As for my parents, or died.